Hey, what's going on? I don't know if Jeff can hear me. Can Jeff hear? Yes, yes.
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Discord kept telling me, "Hey, we can't hear your microphone." I wasn't sure if you were actually able, but here we are. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Technical Alpha podcast. It's glad to have you here today. A bit of a rainy-ish one out there, a little different from what we've been having, but nevertheless, regardless of the weather, I can't see it anyway. I mean, the curtain is here, I can't see shit. It could be snowing right now, and I wouldn't know. Nor would I care. Got a great show lined up for you today, as always. And this week, you know what? After last week went so well, I do have a couple of things written down, but I think we're entering the era of the Technical Alpha podcast, where we just have a couple. Now, this week's particularly easy, to be fair, because there's some big shit that happened this week. But in fairness, beyond that, I think we're just gonna have a couple of things, and we're just gonna chill.
Good.
I think that's where we're at, which might be the best news Jeff's heard since he picked up his new car in the last week.
Oh, man.
Jeff's been waiting for this moment every Thursday for the last while, but now the car as well. So, I mean, I started every week, but perhaps more than ever before, Mr. Black, the most important question of the week. How was your week?
Week has been good, man. Got the new car, been driving the shit out of that.
Couple of tanks of gas, so you at least took it out of the driveway.
Several. I think I'm on my fourth tank.
How big of a tank is in it? So what is it to fill? Is it like $100?
It was to fill. I never put it to E. The closest thing that I got was about little less than a quarter tank, and it was $80. So probably around 110, probably to fill fully, maybe 120, maybe.
It's got a bigger tank than my RAV? How big is the tank in that bitch? Because I put premium shit in my RAV, and mine from E is, last time I filled it, which is the most current price that's out there, which is an absurd amount of money for gas right now, was I think 87 or 90, somewhere in that neck of the woods.
This is bigger tank for sure.
Oh, okay. 100%. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, it probably has to be because it's burning the gas.
It's burning it, and you're used to being on a track too, right? So
yeah,
it's a track car, so they probably, allocate quite a bit of space for it. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Awesome,
but outside of that, man, that's what I've been doing all week. I just been driving around, enjoying the car, breaking it in, trying to film content with it, just have fun, enjoy it a little bit. I mean,
you've had the weather for it.
It's insane. The car is insane. It's actually just insane. So that's just sort of where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Been enjoying that. Thank you.
Hi,
Kayla. Yes, please. Yeah, I haven't eaten anything today, so I'm gonna eat this bowl of rice.
Oh, we're on that. We're on that hype right now. Fantastic.
Yeah. But outside of that, that's been pretty much my week. I just really started streaming again a few days ago, just because I took like 4 days off just to kind of enjoy the car. But outside of that, that's been my week.
Of course. Well, I didn't buy a car this week. Not on my schedule. And not after what they're trying to ream me for my trade-in. I thought about the more and more I thought about it after I was just like, man, I always made the joke. I always thought maybe I would just drive this car into the ground. I always had that in the back of my mind. I mean, it's a Toyota. What are you going to do? But now the more as time goes on, the more I feel like that's probably going to be the case where I just drive this bitch directly into the earth. Because holy shit, dude, man. I mean, here's a question. Do you think, because I know what I think it has to, but do you think that by the end of this year, the crazy, per dealership markup is going to start to get clawed back? Or do you think they're going to hold on to it for a little while longer?
Well, the reason why I don't think it's going to claw back that much if any, is because the interest rates are going to start to come down, and
Mm-hmm.
people's affordability will go up
Go
some.
up. So they're going to try to
not gonna
squeeze a bit
They're
more.
not going to lower the price of cars,
Yeah.
and the interest rates go lower, right? But do I think they're going to move up? No, I don't think that.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think depending on the type of car you're buying, the market will soften a little bit. But I don't think you're going to see a 10, 15, 20% drop in car prices.
Oh, no, not that much.
just
Certainly not that
Yeah.
much. No. But it's
Yeah.
crazy, man. And it's so variable, right? Like you go across the street to a different dealership, and the amount of money between the two that one has decided to try to mark up versus the other is wildly different. It's crazy. So more
You
more
pretty
than
much just
ever.
have to negotiate.
Yeah, like now more than ever. Like in years previous, probably for the last probably 20 years almost before this point. You could go from dealership to dealership. If it was like, let's say, two different, like here in Halifax, a couple of families own like every fucking car dealership in the city. Whether the name is on it or not, that's pretty much the way it is. But you could go to like two different places, both there, the different families, and you could get, and the prices are going to be almost identical. But now, holy shit, it's like, who are you talking to that day? And then like the price is just all over the map. So yeah, definitely crazy. I have this feeling it's going to come back a little bit, but not because the interest rate and all that stuff. I just feel like after another year of it becoming more common knowledge of just how much they're taking people to the cleaners, and more people start to, not the chronically online like you and I, but like the average person starts to catch wind more and more of it. I think it will probably start. They won't be able to get away with it as much. I agree. They're gonna drag 100% when the interest comes down. The affordability for people will go up. They'll still drag it, but I feel like they're gonna have to make some concessions because I just think people are gonna walk out. Like unless they desperately, like if literally their car died and they have no choice and they have to.
One or two things will happen, right? And what the pessimistic part of me basically thinks, and they're already kind of doing this now, is the prices may not come down, but I think what they'll do is they'll start extending out the years even more. So instead of doing 7 years, you put a car on 10 years,
lease or 10
which
year
will bring and it'll bring down the payments because, dude, people will do this shit, man. They will if it saves them an extra 100, 150 bucks.
And you know what will make that work more is the fact, and they've already started doing this probably about 5 years ago, and they didn't really do this as frequently before. But when they started, if you're on a lease, they will call you up when you're only 2 years into your lease to move you into another car, even if they're not, even if they're losing a bit of money on a monthly basis, because they just want you to continue to be sending the money on a monthly basis, right?
That's right.
And so, they might be losing some money up front, but they're gambling on the fact that if you stay with them longer, they're going to make more money in the long run, right? On like a customer. And they would do that occasionally, but now like that's just customary. So if you're in a lease and you sign a lease and it's a 10-year lease to get the payments down, like if you're a person that's in a lease system, that's going to be the way to go, because they're going to call you 2 years into a 10-year lease and say, would you like to move up into the newest model? And most people, because like a phone, are going to go, yes, I would like the newest model.
Yes, because they'll lock you in for more, like you said, then they get more service, so that's more money for them. Not only that, it sells the newest cars, which is good for the dealership. It hits quotas, they get bonuses, and then they're going to get your car back at a horrible rate for the owner and a great rate for you, and then they'll go and resell that car and make money on that as well. It's a nasty, dirty business.
It's crazy.
But when you understand it, you can see. The thing is most people, when they go buy cars, they just look at the price and they think that's it, right? It's like going to it's like going to Walmart and you go buy a TV at Walmart and it's $799.
You can't walk up to the counter
and go, "Hey, man, I want to pay. You know what? I'll tell you what, man. I'll give you $740." The best thing that you could do at like Best Buy or something is a price match, and then you have to show that, hey, this is available from this specific manufacturer at this price, and they'll match it. That's about as far as it goes. With dealerships, though, these guys, they're buying cars in large bulk. They have certain quotas to meet. They have, their skin on top. They're willing to bring that down to for the bigger picture. You just got to know how to play the game. You know how to play the game? the car market is still bad, but it's not as bad. But if you go in there, you just want to shop like you go to Walmart, you're gonna get fucking bent.
Oh, 100%. Dude, I didn't even call them. I didn't even call them back when they like called me for the follow up where she was like following up. It's like, are you sure you don't want to like come back and talk about this? I didn't even justify it with a callback because it was actually kind of insulting for them to come out with the numbers that they did. Was just bonkers. So yeah, it is silly. But I do hope, I got a couple, our good editor Marky Mark, I wish that the market was better so he could get into a new car, because his car has been a bit of a yo-yo for him the last couple of years. And we were talking about that, off and on, but it's just like, my God, if you don't, for him, he doesn't have much leverage, right? Because his car is worth like okay money, but it's not huge. And they're going to be able to tell that he's the one that wants to get into a new car, and so they're going to leverage the shit out of that, and it becomes a friggin' nightmare, right? It's just a bit of a crapshoot, for sure. But anyway, I didn't buy a car this week; it wasn't on my table. But I did buy a bunch of other random stuff for the house, and continued to do some stuff around the house. I had a tree removed. That was after the last podcast, wasn't it? Yeah, it must have been. Got a tree removed because it had carpenter ant in it, and then had an exterminator come in to do the follow up to that, just to make anyone that was like when we took the tree out. The carpenter ant were in about a 4 or 5 foot stretch towards the bottom of the tree. So when they cut it down, they got 90% of the nest just by throwing it in the wood chipper. But Dad and I had the ant killer out, and because they're all over the place, dude. Oh my! The amount of carpenter ant in this tree was fucking nuts. Like it came out, and the ground was moving. You look down, it was just like, if it was quiet, if they didn't have chainsaws running, you probably would have heard them like all over the ground. I was like, Jesus, so many carpenter ants. And so we were just gassing the fuck out of them the whole time, kill as many as we could. Just like
killing thousands, tens of thousands of ants. Like
It was like that game Earth Defense Force. It felt like some Earth Defense Force type shit. And but I looked at it, I was like, we're gonna kill some of them on the surface, but I was like, man, I still got to call an exterminator. I'm not taking the risk. This thing's only like 10 feet from the house, and I ain't about that life. So call them up.
They get in the house. You're looking at a substantially worse problem,
bro.
Substantially worse.
And if you're looking to make some money, let me in on a little secret, okay? Become a fucking exterminator.
Oh, it's bad.
Bro,
it's bad. I pay monthly for one of my properties for them to spray and put. They don't spray every month, but they put boxes on the outside of the house. Oh, yeah. They did full spray on the. Bro, it's money.
I called them up. I said, hey, I got this tree. I called them while the tree is being taken down. Like at that time, I said, it's literally in right now. It's being taken down. I just need you to come and spray around this one tree. They aren't in the house. We don't going to be taking down walls and shit to get to the nest or whatever. They're not in the house. We're trying to prevent that, right? She said, "Okay, great. I'll send you the quote." And she sends me the quote. Or no, she didn't send me the quote. She just told me on the phone. So it was like $569 in tax or something like that. I said, "Word?" I said, "They're in a tree outside. It's only a 4-foot area. What are we talking about here?" She said it doesn't, she said it's the same amount of money regardless. So I said, you're going to tell me that if I called you today and I said, I've got a big problem. I've got a massive carpenter ant's nest in my home. It's fucking my shit up. Every time I walk down the side of my dining room, it feels like a fucking trampoline because they've been fucking my shit up for so long. You were going to tell me $569 in tax? She said, yes. I said, fuck.
Oh my God. Dude, I would have walked around the house on the exterior and started ripping out trees and shit just to get more of a problem. But hey, fix it all then. Just terminate everything in a fucking 20-foot radius of my house.
And you know what I did? I went up into the woods and on the edge of the other part of the property, and I did find more carpenter ant in another tree. When I came home the other day, and Em and I got out of the car, looked up, there was a massive woodpecker, like red tipped headed bastard, the size of a fucking crow, huge. When that thing was hitting the tree, it didn't sound like, you know, the typical. It sounded like a jackhammer, like wham, wham, wham. Fucking sounded like somebody was going at it with an actual axe. It was huge, and I was like, what the fuck is he doing at that tree? I mean, like, anyway, he was having a time of his life. He took off, and when I went up, I found out why. Because it was carpenter ant everywhere. It was an all-you-can-eat fucking buffet for the woodpecker.
He was going nuts.
He didn't even have to dig into the tree. They were just
climbing all
over
huge,
the place,
bro.
Oh
He's
my
been
god.
feasting.
He's been on that Terramana and fucking like horse trank for this whole time. He's fucking huge.
He's getting 4,000 calories a day in ants.
So I was like, fuck, more carpenter ant. I mean, dude, we grew up on the street. How many carpenter ants did you and I see in 20 years? One?
Very little. Very little. Very,
of course,
very little.
All of a sudden, now I'm the one on the street that's got carpenter ant everywhere. So I was like, all right. So I was going to be gone at the time because I had to take Em into the doctor's office. And so I left Dad to deal with the exterminator. I said, tell him to, you know, get around the original one that we cut the tree down, spray the perimeter of the house to make sure they don't get in, and then send him up to that tree because he ain't got nothing to fucking do here. He's going to be here for 4 seconds. Yeah. Dad said, all right, I'll do that. So he gets there. He calls me up when he gets there. So I called Dad to let him know to go over to the house. And it was 5 minutes between me hanging up the phone and me getting the email for the receipt. And I looked down my phone and said, what the fuck did they do? They were 5 minutes! 5 minutes! It was the same $569
a minute?
$500. These guys getting brain surgeons aren't getting paid this money.
Damn! They came in. See ya. There's your invoice.
Bro, I don't, whatever the fuck, I'm in the wrong business. I need to get into the exterminator business because they got that shit on lock.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was more my week. So it wasn't a car. I was just overpaying for fucking exterminator. I guess the upshot is that they come once, and then if any show up at any point in the season, I call them up, they have to come back.
Again. Yeah, that's right.
So you best believe my ass every time it's sunny.
You'll be called.
I'm walking outside with it. I'm with a fucking magnifying glass.
Yep. Listen,
One
I saw 2 ants. Get your ass over here. Sir, what? How many? 2.
2.
And I'm not stepping on them. Get your ass over here and start spraying. I want my money's worth.
100. That is 100%. 100. There's one ant anywhere in the property. I'll be watching if it's in my neighbor's driveway walking towards my property. I'll have my hand on the phone hovering.
Yeah.
You said one fucking. You do it.
Step on my property line, ant. I'm making the call. The exterminator's coming.
Make my day. So anyway, that was my week. Very exciting stuff. We did get Em's parents' tickets finally sorted. The government finally decided that after we sent them DNA from her ancestry, that they're allowed in the country.
They're allowed in the country
for 2 whole weeks for a wedding. Her
Dude, I'm surprised. I'm surprised Trudeau didn't call himself and be like, "Hey, you got any extended family? Bring them on in, man."
Bro,
hey,
well, that's the crazy part. It's like the opposite. You'd think it'd be easy given what they're doing right now, but just like their daughter is a literal Canadian citizen now that owns property and has been a nurse through the pandemic here, and they're like, "All right, listen, I know that they're only going to be here for 2 weeks." For a wedding, but hear me out. What if you sent me every fucking sibling and every relative for the last like 50 years plus every business and every property they ever owned in the Philippines and gave me like us, dude? I ran out of printer paper. The amount of paper that has come out of that goddamn printer, that little $60 printer has never printed so much fucking shit in its entire life. Insane amounts of paperwork. But we got it done. They're booked now. Everything's fine. They're going to be here. It's great. Hun also messaged he's going to be in the city for the wedding.
Nice.
So he'll be down. So you'll be able to see him obviously at the wedding as well.
Yeah.
He and his wife. I don't know if they're bringing their kids or not. Probably not. They're quite young. And we're trying to not have a million little ones running around.
Yeah.
The only one that was going to be there originally was from my cousin, but she can't make it for the wedding because she's pregnant again. And it will be she just like the other day, this was like a week ago, she was like, good and bad news. The bad news is we can't make it to the wedding. The good news is we got baby number 2 on the way. I was like, fantastic.
Hey, that's good. Yeah.
So they're going to get here. It's just they're only going to be here like in July to visit because the doctor told her she'll be too far along in the pregnancy.
Can't travel all that much. Yeah. Yeah,
and
makes sense.
so can't be here for that, but we'll still be able to see them. So that was good news. So anyway, everything's coming together there, and then otherwise just back to doing some work for the contractual little gig that I got, and making some videos for some of the stuff we're going to talk about today. And why don't we talk a little bit about it today? I know you might not have seen any of this because I only tangentially know, without getting into it, all the fuckery that you've been going through the last week. So you probably don't even seen a damn lick of this shit across your timeline because your timeline been so cock full of other shit for the last week that you'd never even see this shit.
Yeah,
so
I did hear about the
like the Helldivers thing, maybe.
No, the Nintendo thing.
Oh,
I did read that.
Okay, yeah. So we can start with that. So that was this was the most Nintendo ass fucking announcement of all time. The CEO of the company at 3:00 in the morning over here, because obviously they're in Japan, so it wasn't 3 a.m. for them, but it was still funny because typically they do announcements that services a broader area, but this time he was like, nah, fuck that shit. I'm just going to post this at 3:00 in the morning for the West. Came on and was like, hey, so, we do have the stuff coming up in June or whatever. We've got our events and whatnot, but we want to just make sure that everyone understands that while the Switch 2 is coming, we won't have any information for you during these upcoming events, but we do plan on pushing it out before, I think it was like, some spring of next year, something along those lines. And so we already knew it was coming. We already knew the window, but he came out and outright confirmed it in the most Nintendo way possible. A random tweet at 3:00 in the morning. No fanfare, no fancy video, no nothing. Just, hey, CEO here. You're getting a new console. Have a good one. And there was much rejoicing. That was basically it. They also announced, I don't know if you saw this, they're doing the Nintendo World Championship again. Did you see that? You might not have because that was under the radar.
No.
So in the 90s they did like the World Championship deal.
It's a $10,000 cart. If you can get one of those.
Yeah. There's very few of them, right? In remaining, and so they're bringing that back, and so it's going to be like a speed run based kind of a situation. The 3 or 4 game format, something along those lines. I bet you that's going to pull some big numbers. They live stream that shit. That's going to be epic. It was funny. Dr. Disrespect responded obviously and said 3-time question mark.
The 1993, 1994.
Yeah, back to back. Blockbuster
Even though
video
he wasn't.
game.
He didn't actually was like, dude, the guy is like fucking. Dude, it'd be funny as fuck if he hosted it. You know what I mean? Like it would be.
Bro,
huge.
I don't want him to host it. I want him to enter it and somehow win.
He's gonna get. No, he'd get. Smoked,
He'll get smacked, but at the same time, just him being there, like, because he's been the 2-time. But can you imagine the 3-time? That'd be legendary.
But how cool would it be though if they actually went along with it and pretended he was the 2-time and they announced him as such?
That would be funny.
He's the guy that's like giving out the rewards and calling the shots or doing the commentary and shitting on people and stuff. It'd be funny as fuck.
Unfortunately, he is not. I don't think he is brand friendly for Nintendo, so I don't think that's likely going to be the case. But it would be good.
But it would be funny.
Would be good.
It would be so funny.
It would be funny. But yeah, that was a good announcement. So we got those two things out of Nintendo, and that was about the only positive news that happened this week in gaming, other than maybe one other thing. Hades 2, early access kicked off, and it's already getting reviewed as like a perfect 10, and it hasn't even hit full release yet. I'm not surprised. Hades 1 was a ridiculously good video game. Like Supergiant Games just puts out phenomenal games in general. I think the only reason that anyone wouldn't like Hades 2, given that it's apparently better than Hades 1, is if you're burnt out on roguelike video games, because there's been so many of them for a while now. So if you're in that category, then it might be harder to win you over. But for everyone else, it's going to be hard to deny just how incredible the work is that the Supergiant's doing. Other than that, this has been another absolute shitfest in the world of gaming news this week, beyond measure. So we'll do a little chronological order here. But this was Sony and Microsoft in competition to see who could fuck up the hardest from a PR perspective. And we'll leave it up to the folks at home to decide who won the race to the bottom this week between Sony and Microsoft. So the first thing was Sony, but before people got around to yelling at Sony, this was just about Helldivers 2. We all know what Helldivers 2 is. It's arguably top 3 most popular, not core game in existence. By core, I mean it's not Fortnite or fucking Minecraft or some shit. It is a huge success, and a success that Sony needed in a year where they have already admitted there is no first-party anything coming in 2024. Zero. So for them to get this like surprise home run could not have come at a better time. Peak timing for this to roll through. And it continued to do well until just this last week and change. So what happened was, for those who didn't know this originally, which I think is part of the problem, when Helldivers 2 first came out and they released it on the PlayStation and the PC, huge success right out of the gate, to the point where nobody was prepared for that on the team. The infrastructure was not there for that many people. Helldivers 1 was popular. Nobody was going to be able to take those numbers from Helldivers 1 and multiply it by the fucking whatever the hell it was that ended up giving them the success out of the gate of Helldivers 2. So things were on fire. One of the things that was holding them back was the infrastructure that was behind requiring, or a point of friction anyway, of requiring your PlayStation account to be synced up with your Steam account, or the requirement to have one at all if you didn't already have one. And that has been as Sony has been putting more of their games on the PC, that's just been something, if there's a multiplayer part to the game, that's been the requirement, is you need to just, sync up or have an account and sync them to your Steam account. So that was a problem though, because it was causing issues, and they didn't want to ruin the momentum. They were literally winning so hard at the time that they didn't want to stop. So what they did was they clawed that back. The CEO made a decision. They said, all right, we're going to turn that off for now. They got cleared by Sony, obviously, to disable it for a time. And it stayed that way for well over a month, almost 2 months. I think that happened so early that a lot of people that ended up picking up Helldivers over time didn't even know that originally that was supposed to be a requirement. Because when it became a requirement again here just about a week and change ago, people were not particularly fucking happy about that. They were super pissed off, in fact. And up front, it was just because of the annoyance of it. On PC gaming right now, there's a lot of instances where you need like 4 fucking launchers, 17 accounts.
That's horrible.
It's just fucking terrible, right?
It's horrible.
You get like a Steam game, you launch it on Steam, it opens the launcher for like Ubisoft, which then the Ubisoft launcher then launches the game. It's like this weird chain of fuck show. So when people get this now, I think some of it that this was just kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. It's not like it was the only game doing it, but people were just like, nah, come on, this is it. We're drawing the line here.
Yeah. But
it got so much worse than that. So they weren't going to move on it at all. Nothing was happening. People were starting to complain more and more, but then more information started surfacing about how bad of a thing this would be. Specifically, PlayStation accounts are only available in a handful of regions or countries in the world. It's a very short list. I can't remember the exact number, but the vast majority of countries on Earth do not have the ability to legally create a Sony account for PS Online. They just don't have that ability. They haven't cleared it in those regions of those countries. As such, it's not that you couldn't, like for example, if you #add NordVPN, it's not like you couldn't spoof your way into being able to do it, but it would be against Sony's terms of service, which means if they caught you, your account goes bye-bye, and you lose everything that you've paid money for on that account. So if you're trying to do this above board, there's no options in the vast majority of countries. The bigger problem is that they were selling the game on Steam in all of those fucking regions the whole time. So now you're almost 2 months deep, right? You've been selling this game, which has got 500,000+ concurrent, which means they've sold millions of copies. All the copies, right? Yeah. All over the world in these regions. And now they're being told, you've got a week or so to sign up for this account and hook it up, or you can't play anymore. It literally won't work. And they said, well, that's great, but we can't, even if we wanted to, which we don't, but even if we wanted to, we ain't got the fucking choice of doing that. And now we got this problem. And so that picked up a whole bunch of steam. And obvious, no pun intended. And then obviously their community Discord was just on fire, bro. If you step foot in that fucking Discord, you can only imagine.
Oh, I bet it was bad. I bet it was
just an absolute dumpster fire. You could have seen that dumpster fire from fucking the International Space Station. That shit was terrible. And of course, they've got community managers, but they don't have an army of them. And community managers during these kinds of times with games like this, a lot of these people are not prepared. for what comes their way. They are just not prepared for a number of reasons. One, just the volume of complaints coming their way, because at the end of the day, the community manager is the one. It's like they're the front door to the palace, right? All the people that the people want to get at and yell at are behind the palace door, but there's this door in the way, and it's the closest thing they've got. And so they're beating on the door and screaming at the door. And the community manager's just taking all this fucking heat because they're the only point of contact people have. And when people are irate like they are with this, and for good reason, eventually some of these community managers, even though they shouldn't, they start to crack under the pressure. And they start to get snappy. And they start to say shit that's like condescending or patronizing or whatnot. And that's kind of what happened here. The Discord community manager, one in particular, I can't remember their username off the top of my head, but they started getting snappy. They started saying some shit that they shouldn't have said. Or no, I shouldn't say that. In the way in which they said it was predominantly the problem. Not what they said. They were spitting facts. The problem is they were coming at it sideways because they were just like, I can't take this shit anymore.
Yeah.
And so they also at some point eventually said, look, you got to go take your complaints somewhere where it matters because it ain't here. Like, you can come to the Discord. What is complaining about this shit in the Discord ever going to do? If nothing is happening here, you know, you're not spending your money on this Discord, go somewhere else. So basically they were telling them, you want something to change, go take your shit to Steam. Go start review bombing on Steam. And so obviously that caused a little bit of a fucking issue. just a little bit. So if you don't know, I mean, obviously you know about how popular that game is. You've seen tons of streamers playing it and shit too. And we know about the numbers, hundreds of thousands of people. But for those of you who don't know how this game works, basically this is a giant social experiment of a game in which it's a live service multiplayer experience in which you can squad up with people, either by yourself, get in and get put up with a squad or otherwise, but everyone is working towards a common goal. There's a game master that sets some shit up in-game universe. There's something that has to be done. It's a big goal, and the whole community is set out to try to accomplish this task. And typically that's being sent to a plant somewhere to do horrible, horrible damage and defend, you know, democracy memes everywhere, right? The community has been conditioned to work as a single fucking unit. Yeah. And there's a lot of fucking people here. And now this is happening, and the community manager
they're banding together to go and fuck
boy.
To just they're like, hey, we're in this together. Oh man. Now you probably got hundreds of thousands of people just going fucking ham.
Bro, you should go over to the Steam database for that game and see what the review bombing was like. Actual legendary, setting records. I think it was over 300,000 negative reviews in under 48 hours.
Oh my God.
You'll see a line, it is off a cliff, bro. It went to the Marianas Trench. That shit was like positive, 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 and then just fucking nosedived off into Satan's asshole. It is a huge dip into oblivion. Everyone was flipping. If they had a positive review, they were flipping. If they never reviewed it, they went to go give it the thumbs down review. It was an absolute bloodbath. And it continued. And on top of that, they took it a step further. They were so conditioned to work together as a unit, they stopped playing the fucking game as much. You can see the player count over this time also dropped off. Like, these guys were not fucking around. I've never seen a unit of gamers working together so fucking perfectly in all my life. It was insane. And so with all this, as this is going on, Sony is still basically radio silent. The developer is still taking pretty much all the heat, but what people, because not everyone understands how the industry works, Sony is the one that decides where this game gets sold. They're the publisher.
Yeah.
It ain't the developer that's like, well, let's sell it here.
The devs have no pull. They've already made this commitment with the publisher, and it's on them. They make the game,
and the publisher does the publishing. It's in the name. Yeah. It's in the name. And obviously, if you're sitting down, you're thinking, man, I wonder who wants PlayStation accounts to have to be tied to Steam accounts. I wonder if it's the developer or if it's Sony. Gee, that seems really difficult to figure out. And why would they want that? Well, because somebody in a suit somewhere has a presentation coming up where they got a PowerPoint full of papyrus and fucking Comic Sans, where they've got a fucking chart that they want to point at where the line is going up. And my God, if you have a game in which there are 500,000 concurrent people playing on Steam, and you've got them all at once.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to look real good.
Oh, that line.
Look at this exponential growth.
Oh.
Whoa.
The mouths are through the roof. Can you see it? Give me a raise.
I need a bonus. I did more for this than you guys have in the last 10 years. Meanwhile,
and so because of
Steam,
that, everything's on fire. Just on fire. And they're not budging. And people are like, holy shit, are you serious? And you know what Sony does? Sony's own website for promotional stuff, where they talked about about games may or may not require, the connection for these accounts. They didn't learn their lesson from the whole Tarkov thing, where they forgot that the internet doesn't forget. And we have things like the Wayback Machine and otherwise to see when you go and edit your shit. They started editing copy on their fucking websites, trying to get the narrative to be lined up with what they were saying and shit, just false advertising out the fucking wazoo. Oh my God, dude, it was an absolute shit fest. And it got to the point where the CEO of the developer, or he was out on Twitter, and of course he can't. People kept saying, name who is the one making the decisions. What do you think the developer is going to do? Just go out and be like, yeah, so Sony, the guys that funded this entire game for 7 years and are a publisher?
Guys. Go fuck on them. Bad life choice too.
Are you serious right now? Like, what the fuck? Do you gonna throw himself under the bus like that? Are you serious? Everyone should just know. Like, at that point, if you're asking him to name them, you know what the fucking answer is. Everyone knows what the fucking answer was. Eventually, finally, after all this starts to come out, especially when they made a minor move where they were talking about like the various countries, they were trying to come up with a solution for the countries that couldn't get, accounts and whatnot, they decided to finally back off of it, and they're not going to require the account link. And everyone was joyous. And in credit to the community that moved together as a unit to just fucking nuke that shit from orbit. In the same amount of period of time, roughly, they almost reversed every single negative review and went back in the other direction. I've never seen this happen even remotely close. And I swear to God, it's because of the nature of the game. They are conditioned to move as a fucking... If you ever want to know what social engineering looks like, you've just watched it happen in real time.
Yeah. What Sony needs to do is Sony needs to come up with some sort of DLC or something. And they need to go, you know what, guys? We fucked up. We listened to you. You guys are passionate. We were gonna sell this DLC for $19.99. It's free for everybody. Freebie. Bro. If they pull, like, when they do things like, especially when you got a fan base that's that
you gotta take advantage somehow.
Give them that victory, right?
Yes.
Outside of just pulling it down and being strong-armed, but then reward them for the fact that they looked out for the community, and they will create such a loyalty to the developer.
Oh yeah.
And the game that it will pay off dividends over time,
But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen.
Unfortunately, money talks, and they also say, hey, we're going to sell this for $19.99, and we've got 4 million players. That's a whole lot of bread. I'm not trying to give that away for free.
I think there's been whispers. I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but there were definitely whispers last I checked, and in fairness, I haven't looked in the last few days, where they were considering doing a cape for in-game as a cosmetic that was the map of the Steam reviews, the chart. So the design of the cape was going to be based on like the crazy dip and then the fucking rise back up and all this shit, and it kind of looked dope, like the mock-ups for it. So I think they've probably considered some options. That community manager did survive for a time, but I think they eventually got fired. The one that was on the Discord suggesting people go review bomb on Steam. But you know what's stupid though is that they're right. They're not wrong. Unfortunately, right now,
but they can't go out and say
no,
that
they
like
can't.
that,
They
though,
can't. No,
you know?
you can't.
They can't.
It is an unfortunate circumstance, but it was also, the reason why things changed, ironically. And it is true. People look at review bombing as unproductive. And in fairness, a lot of review bombing situations are not as justified as this one. Most review bombing situations are just complete nonsensical bullshit. From people that are just getting angry over literally nothing. This was a legitimate reason, and Sony was not budging, even when they were doing something as crazy as continuing to sell this shit in countries where they were never going to be able to continue to play the game. Like, how fucking dumb. I've never seen somebody make Sony make that kind of a blunder before on that grand of a scale. So that was the whole thing was fucking weird. But that was Sony. So Sony was getting heat for ages. And everyone was like, oh my God, the amount of and that was taking the heat off of the previous round of layoffs that happened in the industry, because everything's just been on fire for ages. People were thinking, man, who's going to top that? And you know what? Phil Spencer woke up the next day and said, let me just call up Sony real quick. He said, boys, don't worry. I'm coming to the rescue. I got this. I'm going to take the burden. I'm going to take the fall. I'm going to lay on this grenade for you. Because Microsoft had their own fuckery to deliver this week in the news. For those who haven't heard yet, and I'm sure they have, because this actually got as much social media traction and discussion as the Helldivers stuff did. It's just that there's no like centralized community that can just attack a thing to make a change. There's nothing that can be done in that regard, but the discussion was as rabid, if not more so to a degree, as it was around Helldivers, because of the implications, I think, more broadly speaking. It's not beholden to a single game. Microsoft is starting to do their audits on all of their subsidiaries, and they started with Bethesda. After they spent $70 billion over on Activision Blizzard King, I think Daddy Microsoft said, all right, you guys have been left to your own devices for the most part, but now you've spent like $100 billion in the last 8 years, so now we're going to look a little closer. We got to make sure you guys are actually going to be profitable now, because if you're going to spend that kind of money, we got to make sure that you're doing something on the backside to make sure that we're going to get our money back eventually. And so the first thing to do is they went in, they started auditing heavily. And by auditing is a really soft way of saying closing shit down and firing people. They went into Bethesda and they looked around and they said, all right, there's four of these studios. Unfortunately, you're just going to have to go away. One of the four, I believe, got folded into Elder Scrolls Online development, but the other three just went away. Off the top of my head, I can't think of all the names right now. One of them was the studio that was out of Halifax, Alpha Dog. Were here in Halifax. They got shut down. And then there was Arcane, one of the Arcane studios. They're the ones that made the Dishonored games. I think you might have played the first Dishonored game or something when it came out. That was a great game, new IP. They made the second game. It also did pretty well. And then more recently, Arcane was the ones that got shouldered with that shit Redfall game.
Oof.
And so they got shit canned. And then the most surprising of all of them was Tango Gameworks. And Tango Gameworks is the company that did the Evil Within games. I don't know if you ever played those horror games, the Evil Within 1 and 2. But then more recently, they're the ones that produced Hi-Fi Rush, which was that breakout ghost drop success for Microsoft that they desperately needed, because they haven't produced a fucking single goddamn game in like 6 years now. And they needed a win, and they ghost dropped that in the middle of a fucking event for $30. It wasn't even a full price game. $30 and on Game Pass. They put that out there. It won so many awards. I think its Metacritic settled at a 90. It won BAFTAs. It went big. It went hard. And it was a win because that was in development before they bought ZeniMax. So they walked into that win. They didn't have anything to do with it. They literally just walked into a W. And what did they do? They shut the fucking goddamn studio down. And this was like a week and a half after they were on Twitter and other socials praising them and congratulating the team for getting the BAFTA awards for the fucking game in the first place. Just
ruthless.
Absolutely insane to me. So they did that. And that didn't go over well with anyone either. And people were starting to wonder what the fuck Microsoft is even doing here. They keep buying studios, producing very few games within them, and then shutting down studios and sending IPs off into a vault somewhere where they never get fucking used. So just an absolute shitfest from top to bottom. So the stuff that came out of this is the question is, and I guess the main question is really what is it? What is success to Microsoft? Because you could make you could logic out the other studios closing. I think Arcane should have been given a chance to do one more game. Like the Redfall game was bad. Internally, they knew it wasn't going to do well as a multiplayer title, but they were kind of being forced down that road to a degree. At some point in the development, they wanted to switch it back to single player to try and salvage what they could out of the game, knowing that it was probably not going to fly. But live service is king right now, and so they were like, no, you're going to have to do live service. That is a team that has put together a lot of really good games in a string, and now you're going to just give them this one game. It fails, and that's their only shot. Now they're gone. You're going to get rid of one of the more talented groups that put together new IP. So they could have used another one. But the other ones, you could kind of come up with why it was shut down. But for the Hi-Fi Rush developer, what is success to Microsoft? Because this is a game that fills a spot in their lineup that they needed to have filled, smaller in scale, comparatively speaking to other major, massive AAA titles. And clearly they thought it was small. They sold it for $30 fucking and put it on Game Pass for $0, right? It was a Japanese developer, which is something that they have very few of at Microsoft. And how long has Microsoft been battling to get any traction in Japan? It's been like 20 years now. They tried with like Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon in the 360 era. That got them a little bit of at least respect because of the people working on those titles, Final Fantasy alumnus, etc. They had this, dude. Do you know who ran Tango before he left to either retire or start his own thing? Shinji fucking goddamn Mikami. It's the father. Damn. It's the father of Resident Evil.
Damn.
That was his studio. And he let the younger group in the studio when they wanted to try something different and run with it. That's how Hi-Fi Rush came to be. And this is a game that got 90 on Metacritic on a ghost drop that nobody heard of before, got any marketing. It had millions of players and sold a reasonable amount of copies, but when you're selling it for $30 fucking a head, you're already shooting the developer in the foot, like right off the fucking rip. Because one, you make it look like it's just a little like indie cheap game, right? You're fucking yourself there, and then you're not making money on the sales that you do make. So, they kind of fucked them there too. But they still had mad success. And then, as you remember, you might remember, we talked about how Hi-Fi Rush was one of the 4 games they put on PlayStation just recently, like a few weeks back, to sell more copies on more platforms so that the developer can make some more money off it, because obviously it's a good game. Lots of people want to play it. And it was in some of the top sales. There was 7 Microsoft games were in the top 20 on PlayStation's own store. So like, everything was in their favor. And they still got shut down. So I want to ask you a question, Mr. Black. What do you think success is to Microsoft in the year 2024 if that studio, with that game as their last one in the chamber, which seems to represent everything that Microsoft needs in more ways than one, what do you think success is if it's not Hi-Fi Rush? What do you think their metric is that they're trying to hit?
I don't know.
Does anyone know? Do they know?
I don't think they know. Like, that's the thing. I think that there's a bigger problem at hand. I just don't think they even know where they're going. Like,
headless.
I don't know. Yeah, it just seems like that it's almost like there's no big overarching goal. It's just dealing with what's in front of them. And if it don't work, it don't work. It's kind of like that saying when, as a UFC fighter, is like, people are quick to forget your successes and they judge you off of your last loss. you know,
Yes,
or
yeah.
your last win. They don't necessarily think like, okay, yeah, he had a bad night at the office, but look at the history. Look at the consistency. Everybody has a bad go. Just
Absolutely.
about. The only ones that haven't done that really has been like Rockstar
Yeah.
and very specific Nintendo properties. But even then, people can be like, you know, that one was like whatever. But for the most part, all of these different developers or publishers or however you want to put it, they're, I guess, devs. They all, even the great ones, the majority of them have a bad night out. Something just doesn't hit. The timing ain't right. The culture of gaming shifts while it's in production. You know, the fucking suits up at the top get bought out, or some fucky shit goes on in corporate world and it comes in and they gotta fucking play Puppet Master and fuck around, and it screws the whole flow and formula of what they're doing. But I have no idea what they're trying to accomplish. None of it makes a whole lot of sense. So trying to figure it out, it's
well, and as DK had in chat here, the crazy follow-up tweet from one of the execs from their town hall meeting the next day said, we need more small games that can win awards in our portfolio. And everyone quote retweeted that and said, are you hearing yourself out loud right now? Are you not that self-aware that you would close down the studio that provided the exact fucking goddamn thing that you just said that you need?
Yep.
And you shut them down
dumb.
less than 24 fucking hours. Like, what are you doing? Who are you? Who in the fuck are you talking to? And
It's just dumb.
Like, the follow-up question to that, right, is how do you think the people that are left in the smaller studios underneath the Microsoft umbrella, the Xbox umbrella, what do you think is going through their minds right now? They're the people that are making some small, like, for example, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. That's the one that's like the crazy kind of trippy Nordic tribal, you know, really crazy graphics. They've been promoting kind of God of War style situation. They haven't advertised it a fucking lick, other than showing them once every time there's like an event. They'll like show a trailer and that's it. They haven't done any advertising. They only just started it like today or tomorrow. They're starting their global campaign and the game comes out in less than 2 weeks.
Wow.
So you got these guys who've been making this game at Ninja Theory. I think that's the developer's name off the top of my head. What are they thinking? Because this game, that when it comes out, I'm telling you right now, the odds that it's going to make its money back in development costs, or at the very least, does it do better than Hi-Fi Rush? Almost certainly no. It would be very surprising. So are they sitting there thinking, are we next? We're going to put out this game. It's probably going to review well. It's going to be well received. It might even break even. But are they just going to give? Is that our last chance? We get this one show, and they're going to boot us out the door, and then everyone else that's not working at like the very main Bethesda Studios, game studios headquarters, or the very main headquarters for Blizzard, or the very main headquarters for the upper echelons of Activision. Everyone must be thinking, while they're still making their games right now, are we going to be out of a job immediately or not even with the game coming out? Are we just going to be gone? Are they going to fold us? Are they going to fold us out? And as a creative person, I'm sure you could sympathize that when you're under the gun like that, it is very difficult to do your best creative work when all you can think of in the back of your mind is, I'm going to be out of a job tomorrow. What am I going to fucking do about this shit? Or am I next? And so I can only imagine the morale inside of every Xbox studio right now is at an all-time low. I can't imagine a single person working for them trusts any of the heads. We're talking Phil Spencer, Matt, unfortunate last name Booty, Sarah Bond, you know, none of them. P. Hines, you know, on the Bethesda side. No, they can't trust a fucking word come out their mouth, because we just listened to Phil Spencer and them. Remember that little emergency podcast that they put together? Remember that?
Yep.
Him and Sarah Bond and Matt Booty went out on stage and they had that little internal little podcast.
Yep.
And it was sad boy Phil Spencer came out like Charlie Brown. Hey guys, we hear you. We know it's hard out here, okay? I can't afford to not run a profitable business. And it's really hard. But if you looked at my gamer score lately, I'm a gamer. And that's like Phil's whole fucking thing. And I have given Phil, like many people have given Phil a really long leash for a long time, because I know for me, I gave him that leash because this is the man that saved Xbox from Microsoft closing the whole thing out.
He had a good track record. Yeah, but it's time to shorten the leash up now. He needs to be put.
But he ain't been producing for ages now.
Bro, you let the dog out of the house with no leash on, no nothing, because he's going to go shit and piss in the grass, and then he's going to come back to the house when you call his name. Philly out here, you let him loose now, and motherfucker's lost. And now you're out there, Thor, come on, and now you're trying to get him to come in because you're saying, I got a treat, come here, I got a treat. Nobody's coming. Like, man, is this dog really gonna fucking make me go out there and look for him? It's fucking raining outside. This is shit. That's pretty much what Philly. He's a lost dog.
Oh, he's 100% lost.
And he's just going around going, fuck. I want to just. He's just sniffing around, doing whatever, and it's like, motherfucker, come home.
Listen,
I got to put a leash on you now. I don't trust you to go. Fuck.
I know that it is a bit cliche to sit back and say, what the fuck are these these C-level people doing? Why are they getting paid millions of dollars a year? And sometimes it's easy to say that, but you don't know everything that's going on, and you never really do. But in this instance, I gotta be honest with you. I feel like you could have replaced Phil Spencer with a fucking potato in the last 5 years, and as long as that potato had the just enough sentience to be able to go to the CEO of Microsoft and say, "Can I have $70 billion, please?" The same amount of work
would have done the job.
would have been done. Yeah. He has done nothing but spend money and produce nothing for like over half a decade now. His only win is spending insane amounts of money so that if or when the time comes at the end of the fiscal year, like we just talked about a couple weeks back on the podcast, if you took Activision Blizzard out of the equation, Xbox's line went down. And as we all know, the line is not allowed to go down, Mr. Black. It is not allowed. It is only ever allowed to go up. It doesn't matter how shit the company is doing or why it's doing poorly. It doesn't matter what the macroeconomic climate is. It doesn't matter what's going on. The line has to go up. Not allowed to go flat, only up. And when we're in times like this and you have shit management and poor macroeconomic climates, even if you have a $3 trillion company backing you, giving you $100 billion to spend in the span of 6 years, you are still barely keeping your head above water and you haven't produced anything? I'm sorry. You gotta go. You gotta go. It's time for Phil to go. It is sure shit time for Matt Booty to go. And I don't know who's left at this, like Aaron Greenberg. Who is it that's fucking heading up marketing? Because they have been fucking useless for ages now. I don't know where Microsoft is going. I was listening to Jeff Gersman's podcast. He was actually like Jeff is kind of a jaded gamer at this point. He's been doing this shit since the 90s, so he's seen and done it all. But even he's sitting back going, even with my contacts and all that I've seen and done over the last like 35 plus years in this business, he said, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Nothing makes sense. Everything is on its fucking head right now. Even like no matter what you try to do to justify or think about where they could be trying to take this shit, none of it makes any fucking sense. And when I sat back, you know what an interesting thing is to tie in with Nintendo? The Nintendo Switch era, Mr. Black, has made more money for Nintendo than every other previous era of Nintendo combined. From 1980 through. They have made more money in the Switch era alone Bro. And you know what Nintendo is doing? Producing good games that aren't killing their employees to make them. They've got a stable of like 30 titles that did 1 million plus copies. And if they sell 1 million copies, because they're not killing their people, they're not pushing like the top tier of everything all the time, they're profitable and Nintendo's happy. And then you look at Nintendo's profitability and they're laughing, bro. They're still selling huge amounts of physical fucking media. They're selling more digital media now and stuff as well. But they just said recently that ain't changing. We're still selling physical copies. We're still going to service people where they want to meet us. We will be there.
Good.
They're the only ones making sense. How the shit? With $100 billion.
It's cultural. It's a cultural. Let's
How
just
is that
call it what it is,
possible?
man. It's cultural.
You could give. I gotta be honest. You know
These
what
these greedy ass these Americans, these motherfuckers. You know, these North American companies they're too lost in the sauce, man.
Mind,
Nintendo's
dude.
over there going, no, we staying true. Fuck this. We ain't doing shit. I mean, don't get it twisted. They're in it for the profit and the money, but
Obviously.
they just get it. They just get it.
But you know what the difference is? Microsoft and Sony could die tomorrow. You know who's still going to be standing there?
Oh, Nintendo. Oh, yeah.
They're not going
It'll only
anywhere.
boom them even more. It only boom them. If Microsoft gets out of the game come next consoles, Nintendo's only just going to get crazier.
Listen, we talked about this before, and DK brings it up again in chat. I was going to mention this too, and we've mentioned it before in the podcast. Iwata, who is the lead for Nintendo, president, took a 50% pay cut back in, I think it was 2013. This was during the Wii U era, when they were it was a rare Nintendo failure. And he said, "Listen, this is on me too." And he said, "I don't think that Nintendo can come back if its employees feel like they can't continue to be financially stable themselves at home. You can't make good games if you're worried about your job or you're worried about what's going on. So I'm going to take this pay cut and we're going to spread that money through the company and we're going to keep fucking going until we turn this around, and only then will I bring my pay back up." That's a fucking man. That is a man. Phil Spencer.
That's a leader, bro. That's a leader. That's
He's
what
a
leaders
bitch. He's a sissy bitch.
Damn,
he is a fraud. He's a fraud, dude. How many years has this man, in fairness to Phil, because you know I've been doing everything but sucking his dick on this podcast for years. Because again, who came before him? The only person that's more dickless than Phil right now is Don Matrick, who is clearly the worst CEO in software of all time. That man getting a job after Microsoft will never not continue to be the proof that the game is rigged at the C level, because who the fuck hires the dude that almost took an entire company and tanked it in a single fucking year that's owned by Microsoft? And then he went on to do the same thing to the owners of Farmville. He almost killed Farm. Do you know how bad you have to be to kill Farmville? And now we get Phil, who saved them from that because he is a gamer. He does love the culture. He's there. But right now, Phil, I'm sorry. You're dickless. You've got to stop doing this shit where you're just spending the money. And if you're going to tell me that the only reason you're doing this is because Satya, the fucking CEO for Microsoft, is telling you that you got to be doing some shit, if I'm Phil, I'm taking my golden parachute and I'm saying, guys, I'm not going to be your whipping boy. Because look what's happening. Adam's yelling at Phil right now. I know some of this because the buck stops at Phil, but some of this is coming from the top now because Phil spent $100 billion. And Phil is the guy that convinced the CEO to give him that money to keep this video game business going, because they were going to close Xbox down. And we know from the court documents from that other case that they were given a rough timeline of 2027 to make Game Pass profitable and to make Xbox more profitable, or they were going to once again.
Bye-bye.
And you know what Phil did? The only way to get out of this is if we own Call of Duty and we fucking keep this going. Buy everything. Buy it all. Which, okay, but you have to understand, gaming is not a product like hairspray. Okay, this ain't toothpaste. This shit ain't a random fucking thing that you buy at a supermarket. Okay, gaming has an entire culture behind it. And it's an art form, and you have to balance that. Nintendo has that balance, and that's why they are going to be there long after the corpse of fucking Xbox and whatever's left of Sony has been scorched into the ground on Earth many decades later. Nintendo will still be there, making games and making a profit. But you're right, it's a culture thing. And it's breaking them. And at the same time, unfortunately, because North America is swimming in fucking money, just through the one of my favorite sayings I've heard in recent times is that it has never been easier to become a billionaire. It has never been harder to become a millionaire. Once you've hit a certain amount of wealth, it has never been easier to snowball it into the fucking goddamn sun, but it's never been harder to get to that first initial point at any time in North American history. And at a corporate level, that has that stands just as true. And with Microsoft, look what happened with Nvidia, Microsoft, everyone hit that first trill, and now they're just fucking sending
Printing.
Printing money and complaining and cutting. Record profits, better cut 30% of the workforce. Oops. This is how the culture is over here. And so any monkey could be given $100 billion and do what Phil Spencer did. I'm sorry. It does not take a particular high IQ to get $70 billion and say, you know what? Maybe we can buy Call of Duty. I hear that's a popular game. Anyone can do that. You know what's hard? Consistently putting out wins internally for 50 fucking years. And then being popular and then being profitable. But that's the company that stays around forever. If you fling all this money around and it goes away overnight, you ain't got no leg to fucking stand on. And unfortunately, we're suffering for it as gamers because these big companies are buying everything up and they're closing the studios but keeping the IPs. It's not like they're buying the studios and going, oh shit, we can't afford to float them anymore. Let's sell the studios back out into the wild. No, they close the studios, fire the fucking talent, and keep the intellectual property and put it in a vault like the fucking Disney archive. And then we never see any of it again. And then in the next year, we just get Call of Duty 67 and the 700th expansion for World of Warcraft and Diablo 9. And then everyone's wondering why every game feels the fucking same. And it doesn't matter if it's a $300 to $500 million game or otherwise. They're all coming out as minimal viable product slop. And eventually all that's going to be left is Mario games and some sort of like weird fucking like generic white bread bullshit that comes out of the West because everything will have been bought, all to try to keep the line going up for 1 year. Sales have flatlined. This is the 1 year that they get to have a revenue on. It ain't gonna fucking skyrocket next year. They have simply fucking stemmed the flow for a single year. They spent all that money for almost nothing, just to be able to have a shot. And so for that, I say, Phil Spencer, I love you, but you're dickless. Find your balls.
He's unselling.
If you had your balls still, bro, you would have stepped down and walked away and said, I'm not going to be a part of this. Because his name now is done.
It's attached to this. Oh, yeah.
It's attached to this now. So whatever you're getting paid, Phil, I know it's generational money, but you already had generational money at this point, bro. So you're just torching your shit for no reason. You could have dipped and been a legend, but you stuck around too long now. And now everyone's going to be pointing fingers at you, and they should be.
He's that UFC fighter, man. I know I keep making these analogies, man, but he's that UFC fighter who is a champion for many, many years, and he was known as the GREAT during his era. But the new era is here. And the old ways ain't working anymore, and they figured you out, and you stayed in the game too long, and now you got no chin. Somebody touches you, you're out cold, and it's hard seeing our heroes get flatlined over and over and over again. Please retire, leave the game. You're already rich. You got your legacy. What more do you want? I know it's addictive. I know you like being in that position. I know you have all the good memories. I know it's part of your identity, but it's time to pass the buck. It's over.
Not for Phil.
Not for
So
Philly.
I want to know, bro, we are a month away, almost exactly, to the Summer Game Fest. We got all this shit coming up for Sony and Microsoft, and there's a long scheduled interview with Phil Spencer for IGN that was scheduled long before this happened. I want to know. I can't wait, dude. I am dying to see what the first public fucking showing of sad boy Phil Spencer is going to look like. I can't wait to see what excuses, what do they conjure up? How do they make this sound good? How do they make it sound like they have that anyone should be excited about anything they have for Summer Game Fest? How can you be excited about the Xbox brand? You got no games. You've taken games away that were popular. You've closed everyone down. And now they're also talking about not putting Call of Duty on the Game Pass anymore. Because it might be to make too much money. And they want to raise Game Pass prices. They're talking about that too. So Game Pass goes up. Call of Duty might not be on the Game Pass. They've shut down every other fucking company that's making games that once populated the Game Pass that people would have actually played on Game Pass. They've got nothing else coming up. And now they're going to be like, get excited.
It's gonna be a shit show. It's gonna be a
Not to
train
sound like a Debbie Downer here, but I honestly feel like I'm watching the end of gaming, where we're just going to have like once in a blue moon, somebody that got lucky, that got a little bit of money in the bank themselves to self-fund a game is going to have something come up, and it's going to be good. We're going to get the occasional Helldivers that, where we get lucky from that perspective, the occasional Pal World, shit like that, little fun stuff coming up. Balatro or whatever that other card game was, can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, stuff like that.
And then you're going to have a shit ton of Kim Kardashian-like cookie cutter, you know that look. You know that look.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the Kim Kardashian look.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hey, I think a lot of people are even over that look. They're like, man, was cool for like...
You had me for a minute.
You had me for a minute, but too much BBL action going on now. Too much of that same thing going on here.
It's all samey.
Yeah, I need something else. Hey, nothing against Kim K. I'm trying to make an analogy here. It's getting old. It's played.
Fuck the Kardashians, bro. I give fuck the Kardashians, bro. That shit's fucking... The Kardashians are like the biggest indictment on American media, like, imaginable. She didn't even fuck a really popular guy, for God's sakes. It was Ray J. Jesus Christ, come on, man. It was Ray J.
Good old Ray J.
What's Ray J up to right now? What do you think?
I think he's a bit of a D-gen.
A D-gen or DJ?
No, D-gen.
Okay, I didn't know if you had just misspoken. I was like, okay, he's a bit of a D-gen. Okay.
No,
right,
I saw a bunch of videos on him on Instagram with casino slot players, and he's over there just like feeding hundreds into a machine and making content.
What? No!
Vegas casino.
Are you serious? He's becoming like a TikTok NPC just in a fucking like casino. Oh my God, dude. Yeah. Imagine doing that, sitting in a casino. In the back of your mind, you're thinking, I put that bitch on.
Yeah, you're damn right. Yeah, I made her a billionaire.
Worth billions of dollars, and I'm sitting here in a Vegas casino.
Ray J pulling the slots. Come on. Come on, I need that big win. Give me a 300X. Come on.
That shit's crazy, bro. That shit's crazy. But yeah, so there you go. Those were the big gaming things this week. But fuck, dude. Honest to God, I know Nintendo does some dumb shit. They have their anti-consumer tendencies, and a lot of that is also cultural. It's how the laws in Japan work for maintaining your intellectual property. It is a bit of that where they are just so hyper aggressive everywhere with their shit. And they do the dumb thing, like, take stuff off their stores so that they can resell it at full price, like the Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, fiasco and all that shit.
Yeah.
But I'll take that a million times. I'll take that dick in the butt a million times over what we're getting out of the other two major players in this fucking whole category. Every time. Because at the very least, at the end of the day, Nintendo's putting out good, actual video games on a good basis at pace. And I'm going to take that forever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was only left with Nintendo games, I feel like I'd be okay with that. I feel like that would be fine.
I wouldn't give a fuck. Personally.
I think it would be fine.
If you're gonna only have one, I'd prefer Nintendo.
That's
They're
the
most
one.
consistent.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the
Give
one.
me Nintendo. I'm a Nintendo fanboy now.
Oh,
I am.
for sure.
That Nintendo Switch is on, or multiple are on, the majority of the day in this house. Somebody is always playing the Nintendo Switch. Always.
Oh, yeah.
It's good times.
Absolutely. And then I think PC gaming is going to save us a little bit too, just by virtue of how easy it is to publish a game.
Yeah.
You know, without having to, depend upon a major publisher. I think that's like the two things. It's the 1-2 punch of the Nintendo console and the PC. And fuck another console. Bro, I mean, I've got the PS5, but I got to be honest, if Sony keeps on this track, and they will, it's happening. Putting their shit out on PC. What the fuck am I owning a PlayStation for? I mean, really, what am I doing? Other than playing stuff earlier, obviously. But they're even putting trophies and everything on the PC side. This Helldivers thing was a bit of a fucking kick in their own ass. They shot themselves in the foot, with this whole thing. But at the end of the day, they have to put shit on the PC. They don't have a choice. No matter how much their fan base is salty about the fact that they're putting their shit on the PC, don't matter. It's going to have to happen. So I mean, I think we are. We're if we're not already there, we seem to be in a universe in which it is a Nintendo plus PC is the golden ratio for anyone that games as a hobby. Like that's the fucking Catalina wine mixer. What are you thinking about this new Nintendo Switch situation, Mr. Black? Do you think? I'm sure you're going to buy it. I'm positive you're going to buy it. It does seem like they're going to be backwards compatible, so you'll be able to, any cartridges and stuff like that's going to work. I don't know if the Joy-Cons are likely going to work, but the Pro Controller will, for sure, almost guaranteed. Do you think that, and we might have talked about this to a degree, but since we got this new information, do you think that they will stray very far at all from the formula of the Switch? Or do you think that this is do you think they ever will? That's actually a better question. From this point forward, over time, I mean, if you look at the evolution of Nintendo consoles, every one of them, to a degree, has been wildly fucking different from the one previously. And not just the console, but what does the media come on? Like, we're GameCube discs, little fucking mini discs, and then back to the big discs, and then cartridges for the N64, and now we're in the SD card, Switch era. So it's been wildly different. The control schemes, crazy. Nintendo has easily had the most varied fucking everywhere on the map, from the satanic clown show that is the N64 controller to the godlike GameCube controller, and onward. They're all over the map. But now that they got the Switch, it just seems like the perfect how do you improve upon a console that docks for the TV but also acts as a really good handheld?
You just add to it.
What do you do?
Make the battery life better. You make better frames. Dude, the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to virtually be identical to the last Nintendo Switch.
Yeah,
it'll just be an upgraded thing, and there might be one new feature that's we didn't think of. Ooh, that's kind of cool. But outside of that, I think that's about as far as it goes, because they don't need to rock the boat. And it's called Nintendo Switch 2, or the second Nintendo Switch.
They can't make the Wii U. They can't make that mistake again.
Fuck no. I mean, they've
bad.
learned from that mistake. I mean, come on, that's just brutal.
Just add a number.
I don't think. I don't think anything's gonna change outside of it just being a better version of what we're used to, and then one or two extra features that we're ooh, I like that too. That's it. That'll be the show.
Is there anything that you think that, since you've been playing more with the Switch so much more recently, you had your hands on it so much more frequently, both in a handheld situation, but I'm assuming you also in bed probably play some on the TV as well? I
don't play on the TV, and usually, honestly, it's Kayla every fucking day, every night playing in bed.
Okay,
that she plays I haven't played my Nintendo Switch in 2 weeks at least. She's on it all the time, and then Kai's on it during the day. So
fair enough.
We have my new OLED one, and we have the old one, but they want to play on the OLED. Because,
come on,
it's just better.
It's outright better.
It's just significant. Everything just looks better.
So, but is there anything about the experience for yourself, or anything that you think, like, has Kayla ever expressed frustration about any of the process? Like, is there anything that you can think of that you would like this next Switch to maybe have, other than the obvious, like battery life? Clearly, okay, everyone wants more battery life.
The only thing that I can think of that she's complained about, and that I've complained about, is the quality of the Joy-Con. The Joy-Con sticks I find break pretty
really easy,
quickly. And I don't mean like break, but it starts to stick. And so like your character's just kind of,
or like it drifts,
kind of moving, and then you got to kind of like recalibrate it a little bit for it to not move. And then as you're doing it again, it starts. I think those are a little, I don't even want to say cheaply made, but something's going on in there, because we've now had two, this happened twice. But outside of that, man, I can honestly say that the Nintendo Switch, the OLED version, might actually be one of the best consoles ever made in the history of video games. Because
I think there's an argument that it is the best that has ever been, at least functionally.
Functionally, it's simple. Yeah. It's built well. There's no issues with the screen. It looks fantastic. It's the perfect size. It's not too big. It's not too small. It runs really well. Dude, I mean, as soon as the next one comes out and we can get better frame rate, it'll literally be, I think, a perfect console. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Just give me 1080-60, please. Please.
It's
I know that they always target 30 because the most people just seem to not give a shit if it's 30, and then they push the visual fidelity. But at least give me, that would be my thing, is I'm okay with 30 as an option if you're giving me a mode like we get in a lot of console games on the Xbox and PlayStation, where I can choose performance, where like I just want it to be at 60. Yeah. Like I'll take the visual hit, but you're going to give me 60 FPS. If they at least give me that, I would be happier. And then otherwise, I mean, shit. You know, we're good to go. We've had more spec leaks. It does look like it's got some really nice shit in there that shouldn't have any problems hitting a 1080p 60 target. It's this little handheld is going to be more powerful than the Series S, and so you know, you got to imagine it's got to be there. And I think it's true. I think that's probably one of the more interesting thoughts that has passed through my mind in the last few weeks is, does Nintendo ever, until they're no longer making physical consoles, do they ever move away from that form factor, or is that just they found their end game, like they've made it?
They found it.
Yeah, I think so.
They're in such a lead. Why would you ever change it at this point? Ever. Just keep adding to it. Just tweak it, make it better. You know, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. It's like it's like Porsche. Porsche has made the perfect piece of machinery where it's like everything has been so meticulously crafted in such a way that even there's no door handles, and it's like a little fucking piece of cloth to save weight. Everything is just it's so done for the driving experience. And Nintendo has done something similar where they have had decades of tweaking and making together and figuring out what's going on, and now they've got the product. And now all they need to do is keep packaging it the right way, add small little things, and be done with it. I think that's the show, man. I think we're there.
Yeah, I think so too. And speaking of being there, why don't you sell out for the fine folks at home, Mr. Black?
Patreon.com/LikeTV. Head on over there, throw some money at the screen, keep us going. It's as low as $1 or as high as however you want. If not, hey, that's cool too. Just make sure that you hit the like button. Give us a review, a good one, 5-star, nothing less. All right. You can also support our sponsor, NordVPN. If you guys don't already have a VPN service, now's the time. Now, I would have told you just last week that if you want to play Helldivers 2 and you're part of one out of 100 different countries that got absolutely reamed, you could get yourself NordVPN and bypass that by masking your IP to whatever region they allow you to make the account that you need. Fortunately, They reeled that back, and you don't need it for that. But what you do need NordVPN for is to have anonymity on the internet, is to stay safe and stay anonymous. That's what you need it for. And you can also use it for watching different regions of Netflix. So, for example, there's a series that you're watching in the United States you really like, and you're traveling to Canada or the UK, and then you go there and you log in, and you're part of their infrastructure, or you're on their servers. It means that you just might not be able to watch that show because it's region blocked, licensed to where you're from. But with NordVPN, at the click of a button on your phone, your laptop, your Mac, your PC, any device, you can mask your IP just like that, and it's done. You're in the UK, but suddenly your device thinks it's back in the United States. Continue to watch the programming that you normally watch. You go on Twitter, you go on YouTube, and something's region blocked. Hey, bypass that with NordVPN. It's that easy. Guys, get a 2-year subscription. Click on the link in the description of this, or head on over to nordvpn.com/OTT. Get a massive discount plus 4 extra months when you use our link. Code should automatically be applied, but if not, it's OTT. And you got a 30-day money-back guarantee, which means if you don't like the service for whatever reason, within 30 days, you get your money back. No questions asked. They might actually ask you a question, be like, hey, why are you canceling your service? There's an option where you go, that's none of your business. I just want my money back. Okay, it's 30 days. Nobody asks for their money back, though, because the service is fire.
That's right. That's right.
The servers are fast, reliable. So head on over there and support them so they can keep on supporting us. And that's it.
And now it's time for
movies and TV.
We know why, Mr. Black. Lord of the Rings is coming back to the theater now. And for better or worse, it's because we're getting another Lord of the Rings movie in 2026. This was just announced earlier today. Movie is apparently going to be called The Hunt for Gollum. Will be directed by Andy Serkis, who, if you don't know,
played Gollum,
is the man who plays Gollum, and who will also be reprising his role as Gollum. So, I mean, listen. I got a lot of faith in Andy. If there was going to be somebody, and also Peter Jackson apparently is going to be heavily involved as well. Producer credit, something along those lines, I believe. And being referenced a lot. And he and Andy obviously would work well together. It's not that I don't think that this has got a shot at being something pretty good. But after the Hobbit movies, I just feel like I don't know if I can trust anyone making more fucking Lord of the Rings content. It just feels like such a gamble.
Yeah.
It's like chasing lightning in a bottle a second time, right? Like that original trilogy it was almost too, it's like suffering from success. The original trilogy is so good that anytime you try to add anything to the, to the stable after that, it just all feels so wrong. But at the, but you get that name or those names behind it, there's always a chance that it ends up being good. And hey, listen, it can't be worse than the Gollum video game. That's already the floor.
True.
It's only up.
We'll see what happens.
What are your thoughts on this, Mr. Black? Are you looking for more Lord of the Rings in your life?
No, I'm not. To be honest, no. I'm really not.
Even if Andy's
especially
the one
since Lord of the Rings
shit?
Is, yeah, I mean, even if Lord of the Rings is a damn near perfect trilogy.
Yeah.
Just let it go. Do not Star Wars this. Do not fucking do it. But we're getting it, so sure. I don't even care who's behind it. Andy Serkis, fucking Jesus Christ himself. I don't. It's whatever. It's whatever to me.
Yeah, That's actually all I have in this segment. Actually, it's just Lord of the Rings.
Well, I watched Conor McGregor's Roadhouse. I saw
Oh my
that.
God! Oh, that's true. We did too. So we can talk about that.
You watched Roadhouse?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So Em and I were looking for something to watch, and we had watched on what we have available to us, for our services. I scrolled past it and I saw it was only like 90 minutes or some shit, and we were playing Scrabble or whatever at the time, and I said, let's just
fuck it, throw it on.
Your worst case scenario. I said to Em, I said, listen, for you, worst case scenario, you see a lot of shirtless Jake Gyllenhaal. That's like your floor for this film. I don't even got that. As much as I appreciate Jake Gyllenhaal, I ain't got that, but I am interested in just how bad of an actor Conor McGregor is, so I want to see this movie. And sure shit, he delivered.
Oh, he's bad. Oh, he's bad.
Oh, the direction must have been, all right, you're a little bit, screws are a little loose, Conor. Need you just to act like, maybe one too many lines of coke before this scene, act like you're the king shit, and a little bit off your rocker, chains are off, and action. And then Conor, they definitely did exactly one take for basically every Conor scene and left it at that. And just like, they would
from what Conor said is they did a bunch of takes.
Really? Oh no. People suffered through that?
Oh, apparently a lot of takes. And he was a little upset or confused as to why they used certain takes. So when I remember watching an interview, he was like, well, I had another take where I did this and I like that. I don't know why they decided to do it that way. And then also what I heard as well is there was almost a lawsuit, and I don't know if it still happened or not, but basically he was so bad in the movie that apparently they had to dub, like he had to go to the studio and do dubbing. And if you listen to the movie, some of his lines spots you can hear clearly that it came from a studio. Yeah. But not only that, apparently they used a bunch of AI.
They did, dude. They you can easily see computer animated Conor McGregor, like 100%.
Yeah, they used a bunch of AI, and there was a lawsuit because they did that while the strike was going on. Oh no! And it was their way to bypass having people. There's a whole slew of shit that went on there, but nonetheless, the movie did extremely well, like on streaming services. It was like their biggest opening ever.
Wow!
But man, the movie was
it was bad, dude.
I mean, dude, if Jake Gyllenhaal wasn't in that movie, it would have actually been one of the worst, shittiest, like wastes of time ever. He's the only one that gave some kind of credibility to a movie that was clearly just
lost.
It's not a good movie.
I want to know. The whole time I was watching it, I said this out loud multiple times while we were watching it to Em. I was like, I need to know, how did anyone convince, even for money, how did Jake Gyllenhaal find himself in the midst of this fucking absolute dumpster fire? Where is his career that at this point he is acting alongside of a completely coked up Conor McGregor, whether it's the AI version or otherwise, in this shitfest? Because it was bad from beginning to end. Dude, I mean, how much are we talking here? He ain't getting paid 50 mil.
No, fuck no. He probably got paid like 12 to 15 million bucks, I would imagine. Like maybe 10 minimal. Conor, I think, got paid $6 million or something. He was the highest paid first time actor in the history of Hollywood.
That's insane. Yeah. He doesn't even have that much pull right now. Like, Conor's like this enigma in the background.
He's got a big fan base though, it is what it is.
He's got a big head too. That HGH is coming for his life, bro. Yeah. His head has become a refrigerator.
He was so juiced out of his fucking mind.
He can't. His shoulders can't get any farther forward if he tried. Like
that.
Yeah.
The whole time. And he would walk. He would walk around. He'd walk
around. Like, he did the fucking CEO walk.
The Vince McMahon. The
Vince McMahon billionaire walk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, dude.
That's how.
I don't know,
That's it.
dude. If I hold that posture in any way for like 30 minutes on a couch, my back hurts for a week. How is that man functional? Permanently cupped like that. That shit's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
It looks so uncomfortable.
Dude, his when his character first got introduced and they did the whole Terminator thing where he's like walking around
dude, naked,
fucking, he's got his ass cheeks fucking, and he's just walking around there and he's bending over. You can see like his balls jiggle there, and then he's like, yeah, and he's like, yeah. How's it going? I'm Conor McGregor.
You know what's funny? In the beginning,
weird, like,
he didn't even sound like his Irish accent. It sounded like some terrible Cuban-Irish hybrid.
Yes.
I couldn't place it.
It was his acting voice, you know? It was his acting voice. Man, it was bad. It was bad.
So bad,
But you know what, man? You know what, though? It's one of those movies that if you just have on in the background and you're just watching it for what it is, it's all right. It's fine. It's like, okay. It's okay. I'll never watch it again, ever. No. But, like, it's like, hey, okay.
And again, 90 minutes. It's at least they didn't like drag that shit on for like 2 hours or some shit. Like they at least had the sensibility to keep it short.
Too. Like she's like, yeah, I'll pay you $5,000 a week. And I'm like, I'm looking at this bar, this Roadhouse. I'm like,
where are you making this money?
Like, where are you getting this money from? Like, what? The whole story was so bad.
And
it's like a guy wants to build a fucking apartment complex, and we're using the bodyguard to scare them away because they're putting pressure because I won't sell because, it's in the family and they're just ruining the...
this is supposed to be a small community, right? But we're also supposed to believe that this small community has enough people willing to continuously go back to a place where on a nightly basis, it is an just absolute fights. Barn burner.
All the time.
People getting bottled on the daily. And you're like, yeah, that's where I want to spend my evening. And like and enough people to be able to float $5,000 a week
just on one security guard.
One security guard.
One guy, right?
Come on.
And then it's so bad that the performers have like a fucking glass, or not a glass,
chain
a
link
wired
fence.
Cage
around them
to like keep them in so that people won't fight them and stuff. Like, dude, what is this place?
Did you see them do like the fucking Shining reference or whatever as well with Connor on the fence?
So bad, dude. The thing is so bad. It was such a bad movie. But, okay, sure.
It was terrible, but yeah, there you go. So I'm gonna give that a solid 3 out of 10.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too.
Yeah.
I might even go 4 for Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah,
Connor,
I'm feeling generous.
That's a 1, bro. Connor's a 1. He's bad. But you know what? I'd still rather see him than Ronda Rousey. And the thing is at least with Connor, it's Conor McGregor. So you're just like, dude, this is such a meme that I'm just going to go along with it. If I ever saw him in a serious film,
dude, no shot.
This never happened.
No chance. No fucking chance.
No.
But yeah, that was an experience, for sure. Other than that, what else have we watched recently? I don't think. Watch The Beekeeper. Jason Statham.
Yeah, I didn't see that yet. I didn't see that. It's Jason Statham.
Dude, I put the tweet out. I think the tweet I put out the other day, you might have seen it, I don't know, but I put the tweet out, I said, will there ever be a time in which watching Jason Statham star in the same film again not be entertaining? I think not.
No.
I think not.
It's Jason Statham.
He's got that
Everybody
shit cornered,
likes
bro.
watching him just beat people up and kill people. I mean, my name's Jason Statham.
He's got he's got a fucking aura, dude. Like that man has a fucking aura about him. Like, and I think Jason Statham in real life is pretty much just him in the movies. I think that's just him.
Probably.
Right? Because he's too good at keeping that consistent across all the films. I think that's just Jason Statham. And he's fought he's done so much hand to hand in these movies. I bet you he's actually a pretty dangerous fucking individual in real life as well.
Oh yeah.
He knows how to handle himself for sure. And but I said to M, my favorite staple in a Jason Statham film, and I think it's like, every action star has like their signature move that they do. His is the front kick. It's always the one at the very end where he gets the arms involved and he does that, just gets the leg fucking a ball and just sends the guy like every time. That's Jason Statham's like signature fucking move, and it's so visceral and just so fucking feels so good just watching it every time. It's satisfying as fuck watching him kick a dude in the chest. He's got that down pat better than anything else. But you know what? I will say this about the Beekeeper. There are some fighting scenes in there. It's a totally different style from John Wick. And I know it's tired to constantly compare everything to John Wick, but at the same time you have to, because that's kind of it's the watermark now, right? That's the line. It's a totally different style. It's a Jason Statham movie. But there is some really nice shit in terms of the fights in this. They get real creative. Not a lot of cuts. They do a really great job. Jason Statham's a fucking stud at fighting in movies anyway. Like, he's real good. I would love to have Jason Statham, if they do another John Wick, get him in there.
Be one of the assassins. Go
that
up
would be
each
fucking,
other.
dude. Woo! That would be fire. Because he really did. There are some scenes in this that it's like, I'm watching, I'm going, this shit's fucking up there, bro. It's different styling, sure. It's shot totally different. But in terms of the creativity of how he's dealing with guys and the complexity of it and how brutal some of those scenes were, I was impressed. I had a good time. I would say, out of all the Jason Statham movies that I've watched, it's up there for me. I think it's a top 3 Jason Statham ass kicker.
Damn, I might have to go check out Beekeeper this week. I'll let you know how I feel next week. All right,
100% you should.
I have it on streaming, so I can just watch it whenever. 100%.
No, definitely the way to go. Yeah, for sure. I think it is. I think it's a top 3 Jason Statham banger, which is saying a lot, because he's done... That man has one every 6 months. Every time I turn on like Netflix or Amazon Prime, Jason Statham's bald ass fucking head is sitting there with that epic beard saying, here I am kicking some more dude's ass. And every time I see it come up, I always look for like the year, and I'm thinking there's no shot that this is a new fucking Jason Statham film. And every time it's a new
time for another Jason Statham movie.
He hasn't aged. I know it's because he's been bald forever, but he hasn't looked like he's aged in like 15 fucking goddamn years now, bro. He looks the same.
Well, that's because when he was younger, he still looked like he was like 40.
Yeah, because he was like losing his hair.
50s, he still looks like he's 40.
That's like the weird trade-off of going bald like me right now, is because this is me now. This is my baseline. I'm probably not going to look like I've aged that much in 15 years from now, because I'm already done being fucking bald. It's the same thing with Patrick Stewart, the Star Trek and whatnot. He looked same age for 40 freaking years for like the same reason. It is the only gift given to bald people is you're going to age slower. That's it. That's all you've got. Everything else is shit. But at least you aged a little bit slower, Jason Statham. You know what, dude? I gotta give it to him. He hasn't committed to the shave yet. He just buzzes that shit. And it's not even a tight buzz. It's kind of like a loose, you probably should buzz it closer kind of a situation. But it's Jason fucking Statham.
Dude, he's got that confidence and that swag, bro. He don't give a fuck.
Zero
Who cares,
fucks given.
Man? Who gives a fuck?
Do you think Jason Statham even watches movies outside of his job? Because he strikes me as one of those, because those actors are some people that don't even engage with movies and film much outside of just going to work. You know what I mean? Like there's some that just do not.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've seen interviews of him where he's talked about some of his favorite movies and stuff. So I'm not sure. Does he watch his own films? I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Probably
some
not
actors
that.
Just don't like.
A lot of actors just hate watching that shit. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Man, but yeah, there you go. Other than that, Beekeeper. I don't think there was anything else that we watched other than just the
Nothing
usual.
For me either.
Yeah, just the usual fuckery.
It's quiet out there. I'm gonna go check out the new Planet of the Apes. I'm hearing. I'm actually gonna go to the IMAX and check it out. Yeah, I'm hearing so many good things about it.
I did see a couple people saying that it was really good. Yeah, that's probably going to be
that this week.
Yeah, let us know what that's like for sure. All right, well, let's move on, Mr. Black. You want to hit me up with the next segment?
Tech support.
Patreon.com/LagTV, the place to go if you want to financially support this podcast, and of course the StarCraft content that continues to be up on the channel as well. For $5 or more each and every month, you get a couple perks, but chiefly you get to ask us some questions, and we give you answers in the time that we have. Those questions, of course, are put on a post that I put up on the Patreon page each and every week. just before the podcast. And then we see what we got and give you the answers in the time that we have. Who makes the like who's the holy trinity of current action movie stars? It's actually a good question. So Zeth is saying that, you know, 2 of the 3, Statham and Reeves. Who's the third in current? Because I mean, you could reach back and do a bunch of shit, but like in current times, who do you think?
In action?
I almost want to say because of Extraction, you could make an argument for Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Because Extraction has been so good.
Yeah, and he's got, you know, the Furiosa movie coming out. He's obviously got Thor. He's got all. I would say Hemsworth is up there. I would say obviously Keanu Reeves is there.
Is there a third one that's so like, I mean, because Reeves and Statham are in a lane, really. Is there another one in a lane to the degree that those two gentlemen are that are taking place? That isn't like maybe you'd have to reach into the kung fu side of things to really start to hit that. You know what I mean? Yeah, and even then, there's not a lot of young guys in the kung fu side. We're still seeing mostly like, you know, the Donnie Yens and whatnot, kind of controlling that side of things. Only occasionally do you see. Other than that young guy that just did, what's that name of that movie? Monkey Man or whatever it was called?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. He's actually a very good actor. Like he is extremely good. He's been in a lot of good stuff. Not even like action based stuff. Like he's usually just like a dramatic
actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, the third is tough.
Yeah, bro. I will say,
like, if you go back, it's easier, right? Because you can point at, you know, you could say something. You got Arnold
Schwarzenegger,
Tom Cruise. You could even make an argument for.
Yeah.
Because you're not talking about
has
like
been in quite a bit of stuff.
You're gonna say Jackie Chan 100% all time, like Mount Rushmore. You know what one of the saddest videos I think I've seen in the last couple of years is? That video that was like turned into a partial commercial of some sort, where it's Jackie Chan and his daughter. And they're out in this thing watching on a projection screen, like a supercut of a lot of his biggest stunts where he got injured. And it's just Jackie watching young Jackie doing all this crazy shit that he was doing to feed the family and become who he is today. And he's getting older. He knows he can't do all this shit. And his daughter's sitting next to him and asking him, you know, did that hurt, Dad? And, you know, saying you're so awesome because it's Jackie fucking Chan, the God's God. And then he's crying at the end because he realized he can't do this shit much longer anymore. Right? He's not. Yeah. He probably feels like he's not himself anymore. He probably doesn't recognize himself in the mirror. But the daughter's just proud of him. Dude, the fuck, that shit hurts to watch. But it's true. Jackie Chan has got to be Mount Rushmore. If you're gonna do Mount Rushmore, I have to. Jackie Chan is easy.
Dude, I'm you know, for the third one, I'm still gonna put Will Smith out there, man. He still makes action films, man. He's
true.
Still out there, still doing it.
Not as actively more recently
as but I mean, he's got Bad Boys. He's got another Bad Boys coming now. Yeah,
that's true.
But anyway, I can't really give a Rushmore right now.
Third is really tough. Yeah. Third is really tough. 2 is easy. I mean, like, for real. It's Keanu Reeves and it's Jason Statham. That's pretty much, it's 100%. Steven Seagal, clearly got to put him in there. Let's see here. Well, this is remarkably salient point after what we just talked about briefly with Jackie Chan. David asks, at what age or at what stage in life do you think someone should call it quits on their dreams? What is your opinion on people who don't get a reality check and get a full-time job to pursue their dream? I'm thinking about the arts specifically. Oh, okay, so like the arts specifically, or like so acting, or you know, other, you know, similar related stuff. I mean, I would extend that outside of the arts. I think, obviously, I think they bring up, you know, this is a good point to be made there about reality checks, and some people get them and some people don't. Some people's reality checks come from those around them. Some people's reality checks come from life giving you one, and you have no choice. You know, a lot of people have to hit absolute rock bottom, or hit rock bottom and then dig a bit of a hole. If you're below, you got to get below, rock bottom and then build a ladder to get out of it and continue on. I would say in general, though, I think it's dangerous to ever stop dreaming about something.
Yeah.
Because if you were to pick two things and they're kind of related for the human condition, the human experience that people, or three, if you picked three things, it would be hope. If people lose hope, shit's toasted. Dreaming about something, working towards something, and love. Those three things, that's the show. You remove any one of those three things, and somebody's lifespan, with taking out physical conditions,
drastically will go down.
Just falls off a cliff. In the way that you can see this most succinctly in older people, they retire. Those that can pick something up and continue to go for way longer. Those that just immediately go to sit around, they're toasted in a very short period of time. Like it's a totally different person. They just wither away. Similar when people are married for a long time and one of them passes first, whether it's the husband or the wife. If the person has a hard time kind of moving beyond and past that, usually, and what scares families a lot is once one's gone, the other is typically not far behind.
Yeah.
There are just some things in life that are, so integral. So, and I think that having a dream and working towards a dream of any kind is one of those three things. But as far as like a reality check, clearly there can be a delusional aspect to having dreams of certain kinds, right? Like for me, let's say when I was in high school, even though I never had this thought, but when I was younger, loved basketball. Would I have loved to have tried to, go to the show and been a star player? Yeah, especially when I was a kid. But at some point, I realized that was just, I could have played university ball and been a starter, and then that would have been it. That's the show. I ain't going any further than that. That is the peak of Adam's athletic performance. I ain't going any further than that. And so at that point, I made the decision, okay, I'm going to focus on academics. I'm not going to play any more sports. That's just going to be where it ends. But it was still good to have that up to that point. But some people don't let go of that. And I played basketball with guys who didn't, because it was so much of their identity that they had a really hard time dropping that when they got to university. So they kept with it. And then it delayed their ability to get into the workforce and whatnot, because they just held on to that for fucking ever, right? And tried to make it happen. And you never want to tell somebody to not try, because there's always a chance that something happens. There's always outliers in which, that kind of stuff happens. But it's true. That's a really difficult line to draw. But I don't think, ever is a bad idea. You don't want to do that. But there's, occasionally. And usually life is really good at eventually doing it on its own. Like you're going to get it one way or the other, whether you have a friend that delivers hashtag Maximus Black's cold hard truth. You have a friend that everyone needs a friend that is blunt once in a while. You don't need to be blunt all the time. That
you don't
want
to hear it all the time.
But once in a while,
there's a right place and right time,
Yeah. And if you don't have that, life will find a way anyway. You will get it at some point or another. But what do you think?
I mean, I'm with Adam. I don't think you should ever stop dreaming, but I think what you should do is start tapering your expectations.
Yeah.
So, for example, if we want to go to the basketball thing, just because when if you start to be realistic about your situation and how much talent you have or what it's going to take, and you in your heart know that maybe you're a little bit in over your head and it just isn't feasible. Like, let's just be real. It doesn't mean that you need to stop dreaming about, it might mean that you need to stop dreaming about going to the NBA.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to stop playing ball altogether. It just might mean that, hey, you know what? This career isn't going to happen, but maybe I can still be part of this in some way. So that might be still playing basketball with other people that are still competitive.
Pickup games and shit in the city.
Like pickup games. You can maybe start doing some coaching, be part of that, and kind of live in that world still, but tapering the expectations that, like, I'm not going to play on the big stage. I mean, there's probably tons of singers that, have got some talent, but like you're just not going to be the next fucking, Beyonce.
But maybe you get yourself a job on a fucking cruise ship and you're a lounge singer, and you can still make real good fucking money doing that shit.
And you can be the star of that, and they look at you like you're the Beyonce of that ship. You know what I mean? Like, there are ways that you can still live part of it. But yeah, I mean, I don't think you should ever give up on dreams. I just think you need to give up on unrealistic dreams, you know, and start making them a little bit more realistic. So that's pretty much, that's my answer.
Yeah. The Big H asks, what are your thoughts on tracking apps for food trucks like the Mr. Softy ice cream truck tracker that recently rolled out in NYC? I mean, we wouldn't know about that, but I just conceptually, I'm sure this is becoming more popular for food trucks in general to a certain degree. I think this is a double-edged sword, because on one hand, what I know about food trucks is that a lot of the most popular food trucks, it's word of mouth, right? Where do they park? Where can you find them? What days a week you're going to see them in certain spots? What kind of food they got? Is it fire? Is it worth lining up 45 minutes for? Because popular food trucks, people will line up for ages to get their hands on some shit. They will go out of their way to go to the food truck location, even if it's inconvenient. There is a culture around food trucks that is wildly different from dine-in, fast food, or otherwise. They're a totally different beast. And so I think the trade-off is, on one hand, you're trying to make it easier for those customers to find you and get there if they want to, get in on it, instead of relying on like following you on social media to drop where your next location is going to be or something. And then the other side is that you're kind of, I feel like you're risking breaking yourself out of that culture when you're doing that shit, where it's not like the hunt isn't on, or to go track down, where are they today? Where am I going to get my fucking fire bacon grilled cheese this afternoon with my side of friggin', mac and cheese? Where am I getting my shawarma today? Where is it at? I think it changes that dynamic a little bit, but I'm sure we'll find out pretty soon that it won't matter. It's probably better that people know where you're going to be. But at the same time, also, some of the things you have to juggle is that, man, you got to get to where that food truck is. And if everyone's got an app and knows where it is, it might make it
be longer.
It's going to be unmanageable, right? There's a delicate balance. But yeah, you know what though? We have several food trucks now, more than we had in the past in Halifax. I've only been to one food truck in my whole time in this city. Like, I have not been to very many. Yeah. And we have a couple of like ones that are pretty popular, like there's a fish and chip one that's really popular. There's a grilled cheese one that's really popular. Yeah. But we have a lot that have come up.
I've been to a couple, but typically I've been to them when it's more of a festival, and like,
they're just
or
set up
summer day, and there's a bunch of different stuff. You kind of just pick and choose. I definitely, whenever I'm in like New York and stuff, I always go to the food trucks, because it's just what you do. But outside of that, I don't really venture out to food trucks all that much. So, yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
But hey, an app for it, it's cool.
Yeah, for sure. Why not? There's no harm, no foul. It's really up to the food trucks themselves to decide if that's going to be worth the marketing effort versus, the traditional ways. Drupinator asks, what are your thoughts on cars and trucks getting so large, and what are your thoughts on North America being so car dependent? I mean, I know what my thoughts are about some of this stuff. Cars and trucks both have gotten consistently bigger, for sure. Both have. Trucks have definitely gotten bigger faster than cars have. But a Toyota Corolla, for example, today is the size of a Camry from 15 years ago. Yeah. More or less, and a Camry is now like an Avalon, and an Avalon is like a fucking Lincoln Continental. It's just so, cars have sized up, but trucks have sized up way faster. And trucks, in my opinion, I've talked about this on the podcast before, they're just too big now. And unnecessarily, because they're not big for function. Like, it's not about the size of the truck. The truck beds haven't gotten bigger. The truck beds are the same fucking size. The engines haven't really gotten bigger. The transmissions haven't really gotten that much bigger. But the bays in which they're putting them in have gotten fucking goddamn huge. And it's for an aesthetic. There's especially North American trucks, the aesthetic right now, and it has been for almost 10 years now, is like a fucking brick wall, like this massive nose. They all have this really tall fucking front, big, beefy, strong looking head on the front of the truck. And again, it's not really functional. That's the look that everyone's going for. And my problem with it is a couple of things. One is as the driver, it makes seeing pedestrians now almost impossible. If you've been in a newer truck, like even Jeff's truck, I'm sure you've been in spots in the city where it's really hard to see a pedestrian. It's hard to see cars. When you're on a highway, it can be difficult, even with a side view, to really gauge an idea of if there is a car in and around you, because some of them are so low. Even for something like a Camry, they're really low roof lines now. Like Dad's Camry is like I feel like I'm getting into your old Civic. Jesus, it's fucking 4 feet. It's like 4 feet off the ground. And so that underneath
Wait
of
till
like
you get in the Porsche. You're gonna be like,
the Porsche's like a go-kart.
What the fuck is this?
Right? So imagine you're in your truck and a guy in a 4RS, the one other one in the country, rolls up next to you on the highway. You would literally not even know that fucking car is there. It's like Schrodinger's
Fast
car.
And Furious. They're just like driving underneath your truck, and then like you don't even know.
It's just crazy, right? So so for those reasons, I think it's stupid. I think it's gotten to be too much. The weight has gone up as well. It's beaten the roads to fuck, just because of the weight of them. And everyone's driving trucks, whether they need them or not. It's like it's a culture here now, and it's fucking the roads up. But my biggest concern really is the pedestrian side, but then also in car accidents in general. So one, it's hard to see pedestrians. Two, the bumpers on the trucks are not at the right height anymore. They're just not. I don't know how they have it. I don't even know how they're legally fucking putting some of these on the road. They're just not meeting spec. There's just no shot they're meeting fucking spec for bumper heights and what they would do if they do hit a pedestrian. Pedestrian's fucked. In a regular bumper height and how cars are set up, for example, they're designed for the person to literally hit off the car in a certain way to reduce the chances of death. The truck, that doesn't exist. The truck is so tall that even me at 6'6", you're taking the full impact of that vehicle.
Yeah, you're going down and you're done. Yeah.
You're donesy. So I have a problem with that. And then also in head-on-head collisions, the trucks are so tall now that they will drive directly over, and without a lift kit or anything, they will plow over the top of a car and just fucking decapitate the driver of the other vehicle, because the bumpers and the size of the front of these trucks is too damn fucking tall now. So those are my concerns, my problems with trucks. There's several things folded in there. They're just unnecessary. But cars too have gotten bigger. But as far as like the dependence, that's kind of just the nature of the population versus the landmass that we have here in North America. More so in Canada than the States. Like we're spread even thinner here, and we're really bad at urban planning. We are fucking goddamn awful at urban planning, especially here in Canada. Like, oh my God. Here in Halifax, we are not prepared. Nobody knows what they're doing with urban planning. All you have to do is go out to what's that newer? Well, it's not new anymore, but the development out on the highway there, where they've got like 3 different roundabouts now.
Larry
Utech. That might be, and I wish I was joking, that might be the worst designed fucking roadway in the country. If there's worse, fuck. I don't know how it could be worse. That would be impressive. We don't know what we're doing here. We just throw shit up, like the government sells off chunks of land and developers just go, fuck it, and just start like sending shit up. We had no idea what we're doing. And we're not centralizing very well. So people are still having to drive into places to get stuff done. So cars are necessary. And our government refuses, both for money and for other reasons, it refuses to put money into public transport. We just don't do it. We are so scared of trains or even like shoring up our bus force. Like we're terrible about that shit. So cars are not being car dependent. That's not going anywhere. But it's true. I do think cars are getting, on average, even as somebody who's huge and benefits from bigger cars, I would have to own a big car regardless. That is that's why I'm in a RAV4 as it is. I still think we're getting way too fucking big. Like the cars are just stupid. Like we're going back to the 70s where every car was the size of a house. But what are your thoughts, Mr. Black, as somebody that owns a go-kart but also a truck?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. It's getting a little ridiculous. They're pretty big. Yeah, I mean, bigger doesn't necessarily mean better, right?
Yeah.
So, It is what it is. I'm not going to go into more detail than you did. I mean, I think you pretty much nailed all of the points. But I agree. Yeah. Cars and trucks are just they're like boats. It's just getting real big, real big. It's
bad. I was I had to go to the, I was out with out briefly yesterday. I had to go into a parking garage, and the trucks are so big now that when they park in the parking garage, they're like, you get a truck on both sides of like the parking garage that you're driving up to try to find a spot. And because they're so big now, they come like halfway out into the fucking thing. So if you're going up and somebody's coming down and there's trucks parked, you don't even have room.
No room. Yeah, there's
no room to fucking make a corner. Yeah. It's crazy. Volkus, what's the hardest you guys have laughed at or about something? He said, I remember you two losing it back in When She's Fails Season 1, Episode 8 with Niskel. Of course, on the empty base, the classic. But what do you think the hardest is that you can think of, Mr. Black, that you ever laughed at or about something?
I don't know. I mean, I laugh a lot watching shitty reality TV. I'll tell you that. Man, that's tough. Like, I can't really recall something that it was like the most and like the hardest I've ever laughed about something. Like, don't get me wrong, dude, I've been fucking weak.
Sometimes. Many times.
Like, your point, you can't even breathe.
Yeah, for sure.
I just can't recall exactly what it was from, A lot of the times too, for me, is the laughing is contagious. So if I'm with somebody and we start laughing, and it's usually over something dumb.
Yeah,
like
it's
not
always
even
the dumbest
anything
shit.
that is like super funny, but like funny enough. And then as the laughter starts going on, it just keeps going. I actually would say the hardest I've ever laughed in my life was when I was high on shrooms. The first time I ever did shrooms.
Yeah.
And
probably.
as it was kicking in, I was enjoying the high of it. And then I had the giggles, and then we started laughing. And I mean, I don't think to the point where like I started pissing myself a little bit. Like I had to hold my tip and start running to the bathroom because I was laughing so hard. To the point where it gets scary because you can't catch your breath. You're like, oh my God. That's probably the hardest I've ever laughed for sure. And then after the laughter comes the paranoia and the come down of the high, which isn't good. But as for, just regular laughing, dude, I probably have one of those crazy laugh spells like once every 3 months or something, and it's usually over. I don't even know.
It's never, like you said, it's almost never about something that should be funny. It's something that just, it strikes you at the time.
Yeah.
And it has no right to be that funny, but it catches you and you're done.
That's it. It's over.
And again, like you, I can't always remember what the catalyst was for it, but there was something probably like, I don't know, it was probably maybe 4.5 years ago, either just before or just early days in the pandemic. And something Em and I had watched something, and some movie or whatever. Oh my God! It just passed through my mind and fucking left. And man, the human brain's so fucking dumb. Jesus Christ! It literally like it just fucking it was flashed right before me and out the other fucking goddamn side. It was right there. But it was some movie for sure. And one of my favorite, it was I can't remember, it was some funny movie, and it was a scene in it. And it was a scene that I've always found funny. Oh no, I remember. Fucking hell, I remember. It's not even a movie. Okay. We were watching a movie at the time, but I was on my phone and I pulled something up, and it was in relation. I don't remember why the person used it as a response GIF at the time to what was happening. But you know what it was? It's a GIF of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Carlton on the basketball court, firing the shot, and the slow-mo and the back and forth, and then it just like
airball
totally off the fucking side, and he's just holding that fucking pose.
It's like it goes there to him, there to there, and then it just bro.
So it was a response, and it was the perfect use of this fucking GIF. And I hadn't seen that episode in fucking ages, but I always thought it was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen in my life. It was so fucking perfect. And the combination of the two, and I just remember showing M, trying to explain to her, because like culturally, this makes no fucking sense to her whatsoever. And she's seeing me dying, and I was crying. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. I'm crying. It makes no sense. I'm like just speaking gibberish and like doing the pose on the fucking couch and shit. And she doesn't know what's going on. And then I laughed until I cried, and then I would stop. And then it would be like 3 minutes would go by.
And then it hit you again.
And it hit me again. Like, and I'd be crying. Laughing, and then it went on and on and on until at night, and we're in bed, and I'm just about to fall asleep, and one more time that shit passes through my mind, and I'm crying, and she was so confused. She got angry. She was like, "Would you stop laughing about that stupid fucking thing?" But that was probably the last song I can think of because it caught me for hours, dude. It came in waves. Like it would go away, and I'd get over it. I'd like push it down after a while. And like you said, can't breathe, stomach hurts, crying.
Yep.
And then like 5 minutes later, it passes through my mind again, and I'm completely lost all over again. So that's definitely one of those moments. But several over the years, obviously. I think another one that was similar to that was when I was really young, and Crimp and I were over at his place, and we were watching Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls or some shit, and one of the 50,000 hilarious scenes in that movie, and Ryan had that whole movie memorized. Like his memory for movies is insane. Like if you just gave him the first line of like the Terminator movies or like Ace Ventura, he will the whole script from beginning to end, and it didn't matter. We were watching it and we were just laughing until we were crying, stuff like that. Those are, honest to God, those moments are like better than any. You can't tell me there are drugs. Now I know Jeff just said that he did some shrooms to get to kind of precipitate that happening. There can't possibly be a fucking drug that provides a better feeling than those moments that have you just dying, uncontrollable laughter, the endorphins and shit coursing through your body. I know people be all up on like MDMA and shit and whatever. I said, but listen, that shit is just that you are falsifying that shit. If you got the good for real stuff, man, that shit gives you life for real. I would say those are definitely up there. I'll ask this one because I think Jackie asked this before Mr. Black is here. We'll preface this by saying whatever comes out of her mouth is not financial advice. Jackie says, I got one investment property and decided not to refinance and just take a few years to slowly save up enough for another investment property. I find it a bit less risky. Is that the right thinking, or should I refinance?
Yeah,
that's so personally independent.
It's personal.
Either one is fine.
Yeah,
depending on your risk profile.
Listen, I'm not going to give people financial advice, but I'm most certainly not going to tell you that if you want to be a little bit less risk adverse, to then take more risk. You're doing the absolute right thing. You're not hurting yourself any. Yeah, you might make a little bit more by refinancing and putting it into another property, but once again, you're adding on more risk. You're adding on more responsibility. You're adding on more of just more. It's just so a lot of real estate investors that I have taught, not a lot, but a few, they what they do is they figure out exactly how much money they want to make off real estate. So for example, if you want to make $3,000 a month in positive cash flow after all expenses and everything is done, and you calculate that you need 8 doors to do that, then a lot of people will do that, and then they'll pay off those properties. So they'll have a few, they won't refinance anything, but they'll take the cash flow from those, and they won't spend it for their personal gain, but they'll pay off these properties. So they'll say you have 4 properties, they'll take, maybe each one is giving you a few $100s in positive cash flow, maybe it's $2,000, and they'll just go and they'll throw that money on one property and bring that all the way down. And then that way, when they're paying rent and one's paid off, now you're getting that full amount outside of property taxes and maintenance and things. And they'll keep doing that until they have that dollar amount. Because what a lot of people do is, if you want to make, say, $3,000 or $5,000 a month in passive cash flow, people will just keep buying more and more units and more properties, but they're only getting 200 here, 300 here, 500 there. Next thing you know it, they've got millions of dollars worth of real estate, which is only equating to about $3,000 a month in positive cash flow. But they also may not, like, what you're doing is you're expanding, and that's great, and you get benefits because now you own these properties. They go up in value every year. Your tenants are paying down your mortgage. You're still, like, yes, you're building way more wealth, but sometimes it's easier as well to scale down, have less property, right, and just pay those off, and you get the same thing with less going on. So, like, for example, Adam's got his own little rental going, and what Adam could do, instead of going out and buying another rental property and buying this and buying that and buying that and buying that, is like, okay, we'll go buy the next house, we'll rent off my unit, and then we'll just aggressively pay that down. And then next thing you know, if you don't have a mortgage payment and you're getting $1,500 upstairs and $1,500 downstairs, that's $3,000 a month off one property. One. When it could take you 8 properties to make $3,000 a month, but having none of them paid off. So instead of taking that 20 to 25% to buy another property to make, say 10% cash on cash or 8%, you can take that chunk and just pay down on your current property. And then when it comes to do a refinance or whatever, you don't pull any money out, but your mortgage payments start going down. So really, and that's just a much less adverse option that gives you the same outcome that what you want. Yeah, you're not building as much wealth over the long term, but who cares? You're still making the money that you wanted to make to live the life that you want to live.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It really all just depends on what you want and what your risk tolerance is. And I think you've already answered the question. You're not making the bad decision because you know what your risk tolerance is and what makes you comfortable. Who wants to have a bunch of risk and then you can't sleep at night, or you're fucking worried about this, and this? That's the opposite of what freedom is that you're trying to achieve from doing this in the first place. So, yeah, that's that.
I agree. I know I didn't have to say anything. I knew Jeff was going to have pretty much everything. That's basically it. And like you said with me, I mean, that would be what we do. What we would do too is, we might take out on this place in the future. Yeah. And do one more property, one more property, and then this one just gets paid off before any other moves happen. And just for that very reason, it's like, look, you're going to get more or less the same outcome in the short term, with less of the stress that comes along
headache.
with it. Yeah, exactly. Yep. I had one here that I was going to go with. Seth, you get a call from Bob Iger. Oh, this is always a good one.
Okay, we're gonna do one more because I'm getting burnt out on these 3-hour-long fucking shebangs. No. Gotta go record shit.
I get you. You get a call from, this is the last one for today. You get a call from Bob Iger, and he says you can save Star Wars. You're given complete creative and business control. What do you do first? I shut the whole thing down. I've saved Star Wars. No more. And then in another 30 years, Star Wars gets to come back. That's my move.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of two things. Number one, I bring on George Lucas again if he wants to be part of it. Or I just let it go. I mean, you know what? No, fuck that. I'm just letting it go. I'm pulling the plug. Yeah. And I'm letting people build up a hunger for Star Wars again. Maybe 30 years, a bit much. 20. Maybe 10 years. Okay. I'll meet you halfway. 15.
There you go. Okay.
15 years, we bring it back. And if they're like, motherfucker, you have to make movies, then I'm going Knights of the Old Republic. Yes. And I am
You're bringing Denny?
Destroying the Skywalker name, all of it. Yes. It ain't even being mentioned.
Yeah.
It's just completely new. Everything is new. New. No old shit, no callbacks, no nothing, minimal. The only callbacks you get is just the lore of Star Wars, the universe of Star Wars. That's it. You ain't bringing back a Rey or Rey's ancestry or fucking none of it. It's just It's all new and it's dark. It's
Yes.
dark as fuck and it ain't for kids. That's what I'm doing.
That's basically me. Like if I had to, same thing. So I'd shut it down for like 20 years, almost the same amount of time, as we got between, it wasn't quite 20 years, 15 or so years maybe between the episode 6,
1, 2, and 3.
and then 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then
1, 2, and 3,
about that, and I think that was good.
4, 5,
You needed that not just only for the tech, but also just give people a fucking breather, man. Like Star Wars is not something that you want to bleed dry like they have been. So that would be step one for sure. If I had to do that, that would be my first choice. But if I had to, like Jeff said, gun to head, it's Old Republic. It's nothing that, I might pull from the existing lore around Old Republic, but I'm not going to bring any names back. I'm not going to like come up with some weird way of connecting the Old Republic to the Skywalkers or anything like that. That's all gone. And then, I would also go darker in tone. For sure, and I would probably put it in the hands of Denis.
Ooh, yeah, now you're talking. Knights of the Old Republic with Denis coming in?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, I'll take that next, actually. Give me that next. I don't need to wait 15 years for that. Give me that now. In 2 years.
Yes. That would be my move.
Hey, and Lucasfilm, stay clear the fuck away from his genius.
Listen,
Let him do what he does.
You know what? For as much flack as people give George Lucas, I don't think George would step on the toes of Denis. Like I can't imagine that happening. If anything, George was arguably too hands off for some of this shit. He probably should have been more hands on with how some of the Star Wars went. But I do think he would probably give a wide berth in that regard. But nevertheless, that would be my move. Get Denis, get the Old Republic. And stop the Disney bullshit, please, for the love of fucking guys. Please, God, please. Let it go. No more Rey, but we know we're getting Rey. We're getting Rey. That's what we know we're getting.
Yeah, I know we're getting it.
And Denis or not, I ain't well, that's a lie. I'm gonna watch it, but not even Denis would save more Star Wars with Rey. I don't even think he can do it. I think that shit's cooked right off the bat. It's fucking cooked. Speaking of cook, we're going to go put some StarCraft casts in the oven. Yes. And so we will call the podcast there for this week. Ladies and gents, thank you for stopping by. Hopefully you had yourself a good time. Yeah, I guess that's it. I have nothing else to say, I guess. So until next week, thank you once again. Stay safe out there. Have a good one.
Thank you, guys.
And peace.
Peace.